by the St Kilda Football Club, and to be honest, I don't think Freo are good enough to be in the 8 either. So they're thereabouts. I think they're just outside the 8. They've got a lot of work to do with their list to actually get themselves back up into that group.
St Kilda convincing winners 17-5, 107 to Fremantle 6-13, 49. Let's get you into the rooms. So the Saints with their 10th win of the season, so 10-12 the Saints finished with after making the finals and beating the Western Bulldogs in the first week last week. From a list perspective, what do you think St Kilda needs to do from here? A bit of talk about maybe Billings moving on. Dunstan, it looks like he might be looking around as well potentially. What do they need to do? Do they need to trade out some experienced players, do you think?
It's a tricky one because, like, Hanbury was okay today. He had 22 possessions, but that's not what they pay him the money to do. So I know he's got another year in his contract, but it would not surprise me if they did something to potentially move him on. I don't think he's the future of that football club. Ryan Burns, who was a sub today, he needs to play all the minutes that Hanbury would play next year if the team are going to move forward. I know they've got Max King down there, they've got Hanbury down there, Marshall goes forward. If Ryder doesn't play, then they need another ruck. I'm not sure whether Hunter is the answer there, because we know Marshall is susceptible to foot injuries, so I'd be looking for another tall player. And potentially another big-bodied defender. I know Howard does a good job and Wilkie does a good job, but they're undersized against, you're playing against a Kennedy and a Darling and an Oscar Allen, those sort of big bodies down there. That's when they struggle. So a big-body defender, which is what they wanted Frawley to do, but just wasn't able to do it.
And Carlisle, of course, whose body let them down. So the Saints finished 10th, the Dockers 11th. Both have their first-round picks next year in hand as well. There's a bit of jostling to go on this afternoon with Adelaide and Collingwood to play out, both on 24 points. Collingwood's pick goes to the Giants based on a trade last year, and Adelaide's pick is their own. Of course, Jason Horn, the South Australian product who's raised eyebrows in the next couple of weeks. There'll be some jostling
Horn Francis on that. Now, he's changed his name.
Yes. Good point, Lids, for South Adelaide product. But, both have got a reasonable hand at the draft next year, both of these clubs. But you imagine that they're going to top up with maybe some experience, both Saints and Freo.
Votes?
You doing it, Berkey?
Yeah.
Lids with an early handball.
I'll put the shepherd on.
It was a flick pass.
I've got a very good one for Deledio that's going to catch him out in a moment, though, Berkey.
Yeah,
so what have you got in the ABC Footballer of the Year?
Okay. Apologies to Jack Higgins, who was very, very good in that first half. But I've given one vote to the young fella, kicked 4 goals, Cooper Sharman. Most goals on the ground.
Yep.
I'm going to give Nick Caulfield 2 votes.
Okay.
I thought his work, 10 intercept possessions down the back line, played good 4 quarters, been in and out of the team, so good to see him settle in. And Jack Steele, 35 possessions, 7 score involvements, 16 contested. Sarong's team lost by 10 goals.
Now, our West Australian grandstand team have the Christian medal, which is for the West Australian team. So, Brett Deledio, if you can give us the votes for the Fremantle players. I think I've got the 3 with Sarong.
You can't give him 6.
No, that's okay. And I'll give 1 to Dave Mundy and 2 to Brayshaw.
All right, well done, well handled. So the 3, 2 Sarong, 2 to Brayshaw, 1 to Mundy, and the ABC Footballer of the Year, Steele. What a fine season he had. 3 votes, 2 to Caulfield, 1 to Sharman, who kicked 4 and looks an exciting young prospect for the Saints. 17-5, 107 St Kilda. Fremantle just not there today, even despite what was on the line for them. 6-13, 49. Essendon, of course, could have made it inconsequential had Fremantle won anyway if they beat Collingwood this afternoon at the MCG, which is where we're taking you next. The clash between those old foes, Collingwood and Essendon. Clinchy, Corbin, Brendan Goddard And also Luke Ball, part of the call team with Mitch Cleary. Let's take it to the G for round 23's continuation.
Open your ears to the world with the ABC Listen app. Join Yumi Steins as she delves into taboo topics in Ladies We Need to Talk.
If I straightened my hair, I was fitting in, and if I didn't, then I was suddenly sort of a Black Panther or something.
Or immerse yourself in the life of someone else in conversations with Richard Feidler and Sarah Konoski.
I remember hearing this tremendous roar, and then the boat was literally picked up and thrown upside down.
Open your ears to the world with the ABC Listen app.
ABC Sport. AFL.
Get set for the deafening roar. The pent-up emotion is about to flow.
Listen to the crowd roar.
AFL.
Fans are on their feet. Can't believe what they're about to see.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL.
We've got a game on our hands here. This is really good, fierce stuff.
This is a fantastic game of football.
Someone told me there was something wrong with our game. I can't see it today. Actually, it's a spectacular contest.
Dreamers, keep on dreaming.
Oh, the impossible angle.
Sinners, keep on singing.
Don't go anywhere. The theatre of it all.
Winners, keep on winning.
And he dribbles one through and blows a kiss to the crowd.
Just a new day beginning.
Breaks the paint, has a shot, makes no mistake.
Sends it for home, a sublime strike.
Hard against the boundary, that's a classy finish. That is sensational.
Can he slide it through for the finish? Yes, he can.
Right angle on the paint of 50. May have just snuffed an incredible goal. Tries to fend off, got him, takes him to ground. Back to that Nui, second don't argue.
Go to your best players, go to your match winners.
Plays on man down from behind, holding the ball.
Perfect tackle.
It might be a game saver.
Dreamers, keep on dreaming.
Ricochets to Martin, you know the rest. The razzle dazzle has arrived.
That is spectacular.
It's a new day, new day, new day beginning.
On the boot, kicks the goal. Welcome to the big time.
Oh, great mark. Outside of the boot, Eddie. Oh, he has kicked it. Makes no mistake. Goes back.
Straightens up towards goal and brings it back superbly. Here's that familiar roar. Double fist salute to the crowd. They might have a new fan favourite. He'll snap, he'll go. A ripper from Gripper. Snaps off the single step and bends it through.
Grandstand AFL.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season.
Dribbles it through and ends the game.
On ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
A thrilling final round of the home and away season doesn't come down to the penultimate match to decide the 8, with St Kilda convincing winners over Fremantle, meaning the top 8 is set. And regardless of whether Essendon win today or not against Collingwood, from starting the season with 2 wins and 6 losses, the Bombers will return to the finals for the first time since 2019. So what impact does that have on today's contest? Essendon have won their past 2 games against the Western Bulldogs and the Gold Coast Suns. They'll be looking to continue with their momentum and also try and make sure they don't pick up any injuries this afternoon. While Collingwood will be keen to send off caretaker coach Robert Harvey on a positive note, having taken the reins in round 15, the Pies have won 2 of their last 8 under him, and maybe they can also send off Chris Mayne into retirement as a winner. Jordan Roughhead also celebrates his 200th match this afternoon, so on a glorious day, around 22 degrees, and it feels like it should be finals upon us, it will be the last match in Melbourne for the 2021 season. Essendon taking on Collingwood on ABC Sport. Of course, you go back to Anzac Day back in round 6, where we had 78,000 in attendance, and the Bombers prevailed by 24 points, with Darcy Parish collecting 42 disposals and a goal. Collingwood welcome back Jeremy Howe, having missed the match against Brisbane following the birth of his first child, Xander. They also welcome back Noble, Randall and Wilson. And their leading goal kicker, Brodie Myercheck, is to miss through suspension. Matt Clincher called the action alongside Corbin Middlemass. Corby, welcome.
Couple of things, Clinchy. As you just touched on, hard to believe this same call team, the 5 of us did the game on Anzac Day, 78,000 in the house, and yet this will be the last time we'll have footy here in 2021. And who knows what the next professional sporting event's going to be here. Are we looking again like Boxing Day, all that way down the pike? So it's a pretty sad state of affairs for Victorian sports fans. The other thing, and I guess the only remaining interest in terms of what it means for the season, Essendon could make the 8 today with 10 wins, which would be amazing to think the race for the 8 and how tight it's been, and a side with a losing record, if they drop this today and go to 10 and 12, They'll be the first side since the Brisbane Bears in 1995 to make the 8 with a losing, or not just a losing record, but on a 10-win season. So that is quite something if the Bombers aren't able to get over Collingwood today.
Joining us in commentary this afternoon, Luke Ball. Welcome, Paulie.
Thanks, Clinchy. Corp. Yeah, good to be here. Great to see the MCG bathed in some sunlight, a whiff of spring in the air, obviously. Fascinating stat, Corb. You never cease to amaze me with those sort of stats. I think the key thing with the Bombers, regardless of what happens today, is their percentage. He's very, very healthy. I think it's 107 going into today. So, they should be winning today if they're serious about wanting to, give next week and beyond a bit of a shake. They should be taking care of business today. It'd be a good test for them because they know their fate. They know that they are there next week and they know who they're playing. So a really good test for a reasonably young team, not a heap of finals experience, to see if they can keep their eyes on the prize today and stay in the present moment without worrying too much about what's going to happen next week, Beach. So looking forward to seeing how that goes. We bumped into Mark Harvey, one of the, he's not a coach there anymore, in the lift on the way up here, and he was very much of the view that, no, this is a full dress rehearsal for next week. Certainly no flirting with form. They want to go into next week in great form because they know that their opponent won't be. Their opponent's going in off the back of 3 losses. So look for a good showing from the Bombers today.
Brendan Goddard, welcome. It will be interesting, the psychology of the Bombers. Do they run the knife through Collingwood and send a bit of a scare to the Western Bulldogs that we're the team to fear come September, or do they play conservative and make sure they get through unscathed?
Well, that's your first point is probably the general perception of in the AFL circles, isn't it, that you don't want to play Essendon come round 1, but I think Ballie's point's really important, that knowing now what they know, that they're in the finals, how do they perform? What does it look like today? Because form's a big thing coming into finals. You don't have that bye anymore, which could work for a number of teams. Having a week off, getting players back, refreshing, all that kind of thing, or it could work against a number of teams. So straight into next week, straight into finals against a team that has been top 4 for most of the year. High quality midfield. So it is a full dress rehearsal. They must put in a good performance today. And yeah, they'd love to win, obviously, but as long as the profile's sustainable and they play in the right manner, I think, for mine. So, as I said, form's a big thing. They've been in reasonable form, coming off 2 wins. They had a close loss against Sydney by 7 points. Who knows? A really good team at their best. So, they're coming in with some form. So, hopefully continue that today and carry that into finals with confidence. Because for mine, that's a really important thing.
There's no late changes for either side. So, the subs for their teams respectively is Nick Cox for the Bombers and Bo McCreary for the Pies. Probably the fascination around Essendon is their forward 50. We've seen Cale Hooker go out of the side, 33 goals for the season. Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody missing, obviously, with personal reasons, with 34. Aaron Francis has been used forward. Jake Stringer, their leading goal kicker, with 37. And Peter Wright, off the back of a handy 7, all of a sudden is up to 25. So what does their best forward 50 look like?
It probably looks a little bit undersized at the minute. We don't want to look too far ahead into next week and what it looks like in those matchups, but Peter Wright's game obviously against the Bulldogs a couple of weeks ago was outstanding. So it is interesting, and I believe that Waller played today as well and did quite well. Cale Hooker played today, so they're still invested. They're still looking to next week, see if an opportunity comes up. So it's fair to say that both those guys are probably in the mix next week, come that first final. So it may look a little bit different today, but obviously since Hooksy has left, I think it has been, this is their 4th week, so they've gone 2-1 and looked reasonably sound. But I just think they maybe demand a bit more attention, particularly Hooksy playing up there that can catch it. We all know the value in key forwards that could literally take 3 or 4 marks in a game and go back and kick 3 goals. So contested marking as a forward is really important. So I think they just look a little bit dangerous with that extra tall. Obviously Harrison won't take part. So I just think for mine they do look a little bit different. It probably frees up Jake too to get that 3rd string, no pun intended, defender that he could expose. Great in the air, great one-on-one, great on the ground. So he's got a few more tricks than I think most of those third defenders.
Yeah, for me, Aaron Francis is probably the one. Possession's 9/10 of the law, so he's in there at the moment, and that's another reason why you'd be disappointed to see any Bombers players flirting with form today, because I think there are spots up for grabs still. If they if they don't quite perform or get the job done today, yes, matchups will come into it, but you'll want to be going in good form. So, we think that McDonald, Tip and Woody definitely comes in. There's no doubt he's in their best team. So that'll be front of mind for the 22, 23 that are out there today as well. And for mine, Aaron Francis is probably that one because he's not necessarily an experienced forward, is he? We know that. So, between him and looking down, Alec Waterman's probably the other one who would want to perform well today to make sure of their spots for next week.
It's an unusual team for Essendon, given the run they're on, to think that it's, no disrespect to these guys, got guys like Dylan Clark and Sam Durham in the lineup, Waterman, Francis obviously playing up front. So Langford's out injured at the moment. He's one that could possibly come back for them. Jones out with that foot complaint, and McDonald, Tip and Woody. But even the emergencies, so no Gleeson, no Braden Ham, who's played some good footy for him, and Nick Cox, who was out of the team last week, the medical sub today.
I think it's a really, what I think it is a tick for integrity of selection to Ben Rutten and his coaching staff. That we don't care what your name is, how many games you've played, what you've done prior to here. If you're in and you're performing your role to the way that the team needs it, then you'll keep playing. And the best teams, BJ, that you've been, that's what they do, don't they? And you mentioned those guys. You're right; they're certainly not household names. But I asked you, Dylan Clark, what he's come in and he's playing a slightly different role as maybe a bit of a defensive forward. So, but he's playing the role well. He's doing the job, and Ben Rutten is clear. In his selection, I suppose, he's clear that he's saying that's
players,
right. That if you play your role, you're in, and that's when you're on a good thing.
Yeah, and that's what players ask for too. So, I bet you all teams that have struggled this year and have done in other years ask for integrity in selection. And there's always almost the corridor whispers. But so when you build that environment, it really shines through come game day, and people ask questions. How many teams, successful teams, have we seen? This guy's probably not talented as X over here, but he's playing his role and doing his job and all that kind of thing. So all great teams are made up of role players, which helps the more talented players really shine. So it's an interesting discussion. It's a great conundrum to have, isn't it, for Ben Rutten and Essendon going into next week?
An incredible first season under Ben Rutten. Career best seasons for the likes of Darcy Parish and Zach Merritt. He's been able to get Essendon back into the finals, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about finals records and all that sort of stuff at the post-match. But just a thought or two on Collingwood, given the season has had its challenges on-field and off-field, with Nathan Buckley obviously departing before the bye. Media reports before the broadcast involving Scott Pendlebury that there's a 1-year deal on the table for him. He's looking for multiple years, potentially some coaching linked in with that. So the uncertainty for Collingwood will continue past the final game of the home and away season. So what will we get today?
Well, there's, besides a bit of pride, there's probably a number of guys that have arguably playing for the careers or, a contract, all that kind of thing. So there's a few individual kind of motivational things from Collingwood's point of view. But, halves is, we're here with Luke, but halves' future at the club's obviously unclear. But it's arguably his last game, not only as caretaker coach, but as part of the footy club. So there's a number of things internally they're probably using to motivate, each other. I guess from a bigger picture point of view, what's motivating them today is I think just a bit of pride, isn't it? So there's not a hell of a lot to gain out of it for Collingwood. Obviously supporters would like to finish on a good note, all that kind of thing. Individuals, a bit of hype and excitement around younger players, which has, I think, been really evident this year, particularly the back end of the year. So supporters want to look forward to that, so they still want to see a strong performance. But it's clear today there's more on the line for Essendon today, even though they know their fate and they're playing finals next week.
Brody Meyer chat this afternoon for the Pies, who leads the way with 34 goals for the season. So Matt Clinch alongside Corbin Middlemaster called the action. Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard are your experts. The final member of our team sitting in the front row of the grandstand, Mitch Cleary, welcome to you.
Good afternoon, Clinchy. Dyson Heppel has won the toss, kicking to the punt road end. That half of the ground in sunshine. He did toss the coin against Jeremy Howe, the first-time captain. Also, the first-time father welcomed son Xander in the last 10 days. Perfect conditions down here for footy. 200 games up for Jordan Roughhead as well.
They tell me Xander leapt out of mum and...
Oh, no. I'm glad you brought up... So we all felt like, got a little bit of a thought that, finals around the corner, driving in, and it's weird driving into the MCG with sun out. It was finals upon us, and then the thought came in, so it's not going to be a final in Melbourne next week. How depressing was that?
This will be it.
It was
For a
like
while. It might be it for the year.
roller coaster of emotions for about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
And not for a second taking that. We're fortunate to be here with so many people in lockdown, watching it on TV or listening to us on ABC Radio. So hopefully we can do it one more time with feeling from the MCG as Collingwood and Essendon, a couple of great rivals, are set to face off in the penultimate round of the home and away season. We'll keep you across North Melbourne and Adelaide, the final match taking place from the Adelaide Oval, and we'll bring you a full finals preview at the conclusion of this game. Draper and Grundy, one of multiple matchups to keep an eye on this afternoon. The players are in position with a sun-drenched MCG. Here we go, round 23. Collingwood and Essendon. Here's Corbin Middlemass.
And a little more of a comfortable watch for Essendon fans than they may have anticipated entering the day. Their spot in the final safe. And one last run before a date with the Dogs next week. Free kick and the rucker infringement going the way of the Pies. Grundy takes it, hands it to Maynard. Long kick forward, turns it over. And Ridley takes the intercept mark for the Dons. Goes across to Cutler, another unusual name in the Essendon team this late. Hand pass out towards Heppel. He eventually feeds it on to Merritt and then to Clark. Back to Heppel. Kicks down the boundary line and Dev Smith takes the mark. Moves it on quickly. Dill Clark back by hand to Smith. Hand pass to no one in particular. Parrish onto it. Gives it back to Clark. Still by hand. The Bombers over halfway. Merritt away to Smith. To Stringer. Back to Smith. Floats a hand pass to half forward. Low half volley pick up for right. Can't control it. Invites the Pies in.
Wilson got the hand pass to Madge and kicked around his body up to the members' wing. A bouncing ball. Henry tried to put the block on Cutler to clear a path for Elliott, but it bounces out of play.
How's that for a start to the game? A string of 14 hand passes.
Yeah, what's the world record for handballs? That was the old handball warm-up game at training beach. Not sure that's how they want to be playing.
Toss back into play. Grundy and Draper clears both, and Draper's awake to that. Tries to soccer it forward awkwardly the first time. Bit more purchase on the second and finds Francis at left half forward. A vacant 50. Players stream in. Goes deepest towards Durham on the Perkins. It is on the bounce. Gathers at the top of the goal square. Turns on his right and bounces through the opening goal of proceedings.
I think it's hit the umpire. Yeah.
Yes, so we're going to just check whether the umpire was in front of the post.
No, I think it'll be a goal, but.
Sammy Draper showing his
soccer skills.
Background.
That's how he grew up, wasn't it? That was a lovely
improvisation.
Improvisation. That should be a goal. So well done, Aaron Francis, who's got the Jeremy Howe matchup, and when he plays back, he plays a similar role. So it's probably a good matchup for the Bombers because he'll know exactly what Jeremy Howe wants to do. And playing in front, first to react, then first to move, took the mark, and then he's a beautiful kick. We know that, and it looks like a good start for Archie Perkins and the Bombers.
The goal umpire was to the right of the goalpost. It bounced off his chest like a goalkeeper in ice hockey, so it was through. So the goal will stand. The Bombers have the opening goal of the match through the first 2 minutes. Archie Perkins on the board. They're 1 straight 6 to Collingwood yet to score.
Yeah, well, it was good play. It was actually a poor throw-in for the umpire. It
was a long throw-in.
A long throw-in.
Used to seeing them short.
Short, yeah. So and Draper read it really well. Fumbled the first initial grab and then followed up with improvised soccer in mid-air, and then, as you made mention, Aaron Francis playing in front, the old play in front, first to move.
Looking forward to the Draper-Grundy battle, knowing Big Drapes in his first couple of years did tend to model his game or the way he wanted to play, I think, on Grundy Beach, didn't he? So got his chance here to show him how far he's come.
Dominated the Bulldogs a couple of weeks ago, Sam Draper, 22-year-old, and you get to play a final against them next week.
He's got the red boots on today too, I think, in preparation for next week.
3 minutes in, Perkins with the first goal. Grundy wins it down. Adams hurried kick to centre half forward. Fisted away by Cutler. Down to the lap of Thomas, though, for the Pies. Hand pass to Ginnivan. Goes back by hand to Elliott. Elliott floats a hand pass forward to Rantoul. He can't take it. Spills down towards Hind. And Hind snapping off the back flank for the Dons. Kicks down that southern wing. Kind bounce for Snelling. Keeps it inside the boundary line. Links up with Francis by hand. Now to Perkins. Takes on the tackler. Spun around. He gives it away by hand.
Grundy gathers on the wing. Gets the hand pass away. It works it back to Wilson, who sends a long ball towards Elliott and Henry. Henry in front position. Almost juggled the mark with Ridley right there with him. Ridley now over the top of the footy, and Elliott locks it up. Umpire has a look. He's going to pay holding the ball.
Whose is it?
Collingwood will take it at left half forward. Jamie Elliott to take the free kick. Umpire deciding not enough intent to try and knock it clear. And Elliott, having started the last stoppage in the middle of the ground, has it here at left half forward. Kicks inside the 50. Over the head of Degoe and Dacos getting back. McGrath's there for the Bombers. Feeds the hand pass out to Cutler in the back pocket. Gestures for someone to lead to the members' wing. Puts it out in front of Snelling. Got rid of Madgen on the bounce. Francis trying to slap it back to Snelling, but Collingwood through Maynard. Tackled by Snelling, holding the ball.
Great
Bombers
tackle.
to take it back on the members' wing.
Yeah, underrated player, Will Snelling. He's one of those role players, those blue-collar players, Beach, that you spoke about. Every great team in recent years has had them. He's had another terrific year.
Picked up in the mid-season draft, and what a career he's having. Snelling goes short to Merritt, hand pass to Hind. He kicks to the outer wing. Mark taken out there by Redmond, who's off and running. Has a bounce, closes to 70 out. Trying to spear the pass onto the chest of Perkins. Can't complete the mark. Main mops it up. Gives it away to Wilson. Hand pass to Noble. Another one through that same mid-season draft back in 2019. He goes short to side bottom. Marks in the sunshine at half-back and swings it all the way to Dacos on the opposite back flank. Right half-back for the Pies. Dons with the first goal 5 minutes in.
Dacos kicks up to the members' wing where Thomas takes the mark. Josh Thomas looks to come inboard. Not sure that's 15 to side bottom. Spoiled away anyway. Guelphy onto it. Kicks off the outside of the boot looking for right. It's over his head. And Roughhead in game 200 takes the mark for the Magpies.
Both teams' forwards getting really high at the moment. And so we should see a fair bit of footy in between the arcs here, because as they look up and there's no one to kick to.
To Howe and then to Maynard. To Noble all by foot. Out to the far wing. Ginnivan brings it inboard to Adams. His kick was partially smothered. Hind gets onto it for the Bombers. Hand pass to Heppel off a step. Kicks towards Ridley at half back, and he comes to a complete halt as he looks for options down the southern wing. Decides to drive it long towards Stringer over his head to a 2-on-1, and Howe gathers hard against the boundary.
So there's the numbers back for Collingwood. Gives it to Wilson. Hand pass inside to Adams, who's mowed down in the tackle. Trickles a ball inside forward 50. Hind collects for the Bombers. He's wrapped up, taken the ground. And we'll have a ball up, 45 out from the Magpies goal.
You're right, Paulie. So Essendon in particular just losing their structure ahead of the ball. So a number of times did a really good job defenders to win the ball. Redmond on the far side. It was a short kick. Couldn't get inside 50 because he had no other options, because his forwards haven't worked hard enough to get back inside 50 because they were so high up the ground.
Free kick over the shoulder. Ginnivan to take it right on 50 out to the left. Just a bit of a sloppy tackle attempt by Sam Draper. Trying to follow up from his ruck work.
He's a sharpshooter. He likes himself here. He's going to have to kick it every bit of 55, 56 metres. He's shown a bit, though, hasn't he, in the last 5 or 6 weeks. Certainly got drafted as a goal sneak, and he's looked comfortable at this level.
Goals in 3 of his 4 games from outside 50. Ginnivan gives it everything he's got and misses to the left. Collingwood's first scorers are behind the Bombers. 1 straight 6 through 7 minutes in the opening term. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Just a concern for the Essendon Footy Club. Archie Perkins gone down the race with the Medicos. Looks like a right leg injury. I'll keep you posted.
So the last thing the Bombers want out of the day, playing 19 of the games this year. Archie Perkins, it's before today, so missed just 2 in his debut season. A short kick from the kick out, marked by Ridley, goes short to Heppel, who turns and kicks long down the wing. Draper's there looking into the sun and takes the mark. And so Sam Draper comes up with a footy on the southern wing, takes some time to take his kick, in the end lays off a hand pass to the run of Cutler, looks back in the middle of the ground. Heppel takes the mark for the Bombers, continues the shift out to the members' side. Bouncing footy in front of Laverty. He collects, lays a hand pass away to Hind. In that launch pad, 70 out, kicks it deep inside 50, right went early. Spills out the back to Guelphy. He fumbles over the boundary line. Trying to keep it alive in the left forward pocket, and a throw in deep for the Bombers. Essendon 1 straight, Collingwood 1 behind, 8.5 played opening term.
Essendon's going to have a hard day if they continue to allow Jeremy Howe just to sit behind the ball. Aaron Francis getting too far up the ground. I understand he's making an option for that kick down the line, but he's got to work harder to get back inside 50 to make Howe accountable and to provide an option for his team.
Grundy one down the tap. Smith tried to bust his way through for the Bombers. He's tackled, and that's where play will come to a halt.
Might be a discussion for quarter time, Beach, but it's going to be an issue for this Bombers forward 6. No one's a real sort of work rate workhorse keep an eye on it.
Shield with the hand pass for Essendon, out to Parrish, now to McGrath, trying to screw it back towards right, over his head, and Durham as well. Ginnivan getting back for Collingwood, gets the hand pass away to Main, and now to Howe, looking for an avenue out of defence, kick to Noble, sat underneath it, Merritt spoiled late, still a chance for the Dons. Guelphy tries to shovel out a hand pass, Adams onto it for Collingwood, a stationary hand pass intercepted by Merritt, he can't clear purchase from 45 metres out, now a chance for Cutler into the pocket to Smith. And Dev Smith takes the mark in front of Howe. In the right forward pocket, he'll shoot from 40 metres out.
It was a good kick in the end, but I thought he'd just pin his ears back, and have a shot from 45. He's got the coverage. I'm just wondering if obviously the wind here, ball, we've played here enough, but it's swirly, isn't it? Young Ginnivan's shot from just outside 50 sailed about 10 rows back, so maybe it's just slightly into the wind this end that Essendon are kicking into.
Kick to goal in his last 5 games. Dev Smith, he liked that the moment it hit the boot. And the Bombers skipped clear in the opening 10 minutes. They're 2 straight 12 to Collingwood, 1 behind on ABC Sport. You with Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard.
Yeah, a nice finish. He's going to be an important player, isn't he, over the coming week and hopefully weeks for Bombers supporters. Dev Smith, he does provide that grunt work forward of the ball, doesn't he? And we think that Tip and Woody will come back, but between the two of them and Will Snelling, they will become really important players, and that was a nice finish. And Tom Cutler's certainly mounting his case, isn't he, Corb, over the last month or so, playing behind the footy. He's had a really good month of footy, and his timing might be really good. So he's already had the 5 possessions. Heppel's had 5 behind the ball, and Smith, that was his 5th as well. So, yeah, Tom Cutler, it's probably his decision-making probably has been the thing that's held him back a bit. We know he's a beautiful long kick, and you're right, we just expected him then just to pin the ears back, but well done, lowered his eyes and found a better option.
Restart back in the middle, Dons with the first 2, and here is their number 2, Draper, grabbing it out of the ruck, gets a kick away to Merritt, hand pass releases Shield, he ignores Cutler, decides to kick it himself out towards the southern wing, and Guelphy runs into space, takes the mark. He's between wing and half forward. Looks inside the attacking 50 and then kicks it straight to Ruffett, who takes the intercept mark in the back pocket. You'd be pleased to know, for those of you listening, there's less of a clash today as there was on Anzac Day. So
it's a good point, wasn't it?
The Pies all in their white with the white shorts and the black stripes, and the Bombers in their dark shorts. The black shorts, of course, with the famous red sash, as the exiting kick from Wilson is cut off. And an intercept mark taken by Guelphy again, so they start the chain once more. He goes short and wide, and Durham's got it. 70 out right half forward.
He has a congested forward 50, so Durham decides to send it as high and long as he can. Peter Wright tries to fly from the back, over the back of Cameron Francis, front and centre, dribbles a kick end over end, and it just bounces into the left goalpost. Essendon's first blemish of the afternoon, 2-1-13 to Collingwood 1 behind, 12 minutes gone opening term.
No late change today. Bo McCreary and Nick Cox, the 2 subs. The Pies have 3 players who have played every game this year, and Essendon up to 4. Of course, their season not yet done. Coming out of the defensive 50, the kick from Howe, marked by Stewart. So the son of a magpie to put the Bombers deep inside the forward 50. Out the drop, and Peter Wright's going to take a chest mark. Looked as if he was stumbling into it, and somehow right in front of the arriving pack, the kick landed short. And Wright takes the chest mark, 25 out, dead in front.
It does look like the wind is just playing a factor. There's a number of Collingwood players, when they've kicked it long, have ran under the footy. Essendon players have read it better, but then going forward, that one fell short like a couple have. So we know it's swirly. It really depends on what side of the ground you're on normally, doesn't it, Bally? But it just looks like that potentially it's favouring Collingwood's end at this stage.
So Peter Wright for the first of the day. The Bombers have the first 3. Through it goes, a bit of work for the goal umpire out to his left. But the Dons with the hot start, 13 minutes played. Essendon with their place in the 8 assured. They're 3-1-19. Collingwood 1 behind on Grandstand AFL. Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball.
Well, it would have been screaming at James Stewart to wheel and get the ball in quicker. He had one-on-ones. He had 3 one-on-ones ahead of the ball, which often's the case when you take the intercept mark from the kick out. At that sort of launch pad area, you want to really roll on and get it back in and put the defenders under pressure. And I thought he was a touch slow, but you're right, the kick went to a dangerous enough spot, and the big fella, the big key forward, just read it a bit better. It does look like it's swirling around. You're right, Beej, and the kicks that go to the city end are carrying a bit further, and a couple that have gone to the punt row end are certainly dropping a bit short. So Bombers are switched on enough to capitalise on that at the moment. Good start.
Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Archie Perkins ticked off a fitness test down here. He's back on the ground.
Cameron and Wright having a run in the ruck for their respective sides. Tap going down to Adams, gets the hand pass to Degoe, kicks inside the 50 out in front of Henry. Laverty right there with him, but Henry's smooth with his pickup. Just chimneys a kick over the top, and Degoe takes the mark. In the left forward pocket, only about 5 metres in from the boundary. He'll kick from about 45 metres out.
Really good work rate from Degoe there. He was the one that got the initial clearance. Continued on. Redmond was right on his tail, but it was a really good kick in the end. But he continued to work inside 50, which he's got a licence to. Bally, almost that dusty role that he and now Jake Stringer are playing. So has a licence from a stoppage and as a midfielder to push forward.
Jordan Degoe looking for Collingwood's first. It's near side all the way, missing to the left. They're 2 behinds to Essendon. 3-1-19, 15 minutes gone opening term.
Degoe, one of the 9 different faces for Collingwood from the Anzac Day clash. Missed that encounter with concussion. He's been in good form in recent weeks as the Bombers, some indecision exiting defensive 50. Ridley to Merritt and then to Clark, who goes back to Ridley, still in the back pocket.
Be good to see Jordan Degoe settle in the midfield. I think that's probably now he's really got to have another good pre-season and cement himself in there as a... you mentioned Dusty, he's forever getting compared to him. Now's the time to play mid.
Ridley short to McGrath, who goes into the middle of the ground. Parrish wins it back, hands it to Merritt, hand pass away to Perkins. He links up with McGrath again, kicks wide out to Francis, just reels in the footy before it runs out of play. Hand pass back to Hind, short to McGrath, still on halfway the Bombers.
Gives the hand pass back to the dash of Hind, who gets to centre wing and then sends a high ball inside 50. Guelphy couldn't take the mark. Collingwood have the numbers though. Murphy under pressure, feeds it back to Howe. Waterman used his body well, trying to clear a path as Guelphy trying to link up with Wright. Waterman has another go for the Bombers. Hand pass to Smith. Short ball looking for Perkins. Adams dropped it, still a chance. Guelphy gets onto it, kicks to the goal line. But at the last line, Crisp takes the mark for Collingwood. The goalkeeper denying the certain goal. He goes short to Adams and he has it 20 metres out from his defensive goal at the punt road end.
This is Jack Crisp's 7th season as a Magpie. He's played every game. Has not missed since joining the club. As Adams comes wide with the kick, it's not a good one. Francis intercepts, takes the mark. 55 out left, half forward.
He's had another great year too. He'll be top 3, top 5 certainly in their best and fairest, you'd think again.
Probably should win it.
Francis says, I'm having a shot. The umpire says, no, you're not. And he passes it short to Peter Wright, who's just inside 50. So he'll kick from a similar spot. A little closer. Left half forward, wide out. He'll kick from just behind the 50-metre arc.
He's got no problem finding the footy too, Chris. He's obviously played half-back a lot, but I like what they've done this year and tried to put him in the midfield or experimenting there. The only thing letting him down a lot of the time is just his disposal, particularly forward of centre, which we know is so important and so hard to find that kick.
Went goalless against his old team last week, and if he was kicking him like that, I can understand why. He's missed that horribly out to the left. Missed the behind post by about 5 metres, so no score for Peter Wright. He has got one already in his opening quarter. Essendon by 17 points. They've got the first 3 after as many minutes.
Maynard works Collingwood out of defence, finds Madgen at left half back. A hand pass away to Main, who works it around the outer wing. And a chance for the Pies to load up through Bianco at half-back. That's not his best kick. Looking for Henry, and it rolls out of play under the Great Southern stand. Essendon 3-1-19. Collingwood 2 behinds through 18 minutes in the opening term. H from Bunniyong suggesting the Bombers should shout the bar all day for the Saints' Mad Monday. After the Saints winners by 58 points over the Fremantle Dockers, meaning today is a dead rubber. The Bombers are guaranteed finals action. Maynard inside the 50 for Collingwood, looking for Degoe, trying to skirt back onto it, sockers it towards the teeth of goal, racing back Cameron, second to Stewart though, and Stewart with a clearing kick to half back, but only as far as Main, who marks on his chest at left half forward for Collingwood.
Chris Main, game 248 and last, announcing his retirement during the week. He goes short to Elliott, who hits up and marks on the flank. And so Jamie Elliott can have a shot here, left half forward. He'll kick from just inside 50.
Again, just that exit from the Bombers. Sammy Draper is the one that's got to be that wider outlet kick. He was standing almost on the half back flank for Essendon. You just need to get a little bit wider and just get a kick within it as opposed to a kick and a half. He's too far away from the ball.
He is a marksman, Jamie Elliott. He's kicked well this year and he threads that for Collingwood's first. Elliott goals and the Pies are on the board. They move to 1-2-8. Essendon 3-1-19. The Bombers by 11 points as we tick into time on opening term Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, you're right, Beach. You just need to have a presence there, don't you, for that outlet kick. Poor old James Stewart. You feel for him a bit there. And that's that. Just that maybe inexperienced forward structure still a little bit for the Bombers that they need to get right, today and into next week. Just needing to be there for your defenders when they're trying to exit the footy under pressure. And was well cut off by Chris Main, who we'll talk about across the course of a day. He's had a great career and a nice little kick inside 50, and that'll disappoint Ben Rutten as well. There was a hole there, and the Bombers mids certainly had enough time to get back and fill that in, and Jamie Elliott was smart enough to find it. Lovely finish. He's had a good year too. It's been good to see him back playing consistent footy.
Luke Ball with you on ABC Sport. Turned 29 on Saturday. Jamie Elliott, his first goal of the afternoon, and Collingwood. Shield trying to get the clearance for the Bombers. Retreats back, lost some ground, and Crisp is onto it. 50 out from goal. Rushes the kick to Cameron, who takes the mark almost at the top of the goal square. Laverty couldn't close the gap late. And it was a good catch in the end from Darcy Cameron.
There was a clearance. They didn't really have much support behind the ball. Dylan Shield was left wanting support when there was a ground ball there and a bit of pressure from Grundy, I think it was. And then the wave of Collingwood and the outnumber of Collingwood just came and swept up that ball, and then it was unattended running forward. Crispin, I'm not sure if he meant it, but it turned out to be pretty good.
So for a couple of quick ones for the Pies, Cameron comes in and puts through his 22nd of the season. All of a sudden the Bombers lead is cut back to 5 points, 3-1-19 to Collingwood 2-2-14. The Magpies are the last 2 goals in the match.
Yeah, good call, Beach. It was the other Bombers mids anticipating Dylan Shield was going to win the footy. It started to hedge their bets and head forward, and they went too early. You really can't get away with that in league footy. We know that. There's good pressure from Big Grundy that forced the spillage, and the Pies players who'd come back to the footy were there to mop it up. And Jack Crisp, as you said, you see on the replay, they just started to peel off a bit. Even Sammy Draper, the ruckman, started to push forward, and Jack Crisp holding around the contest was able to get involved. And it was a bit of a scrubber. It was a scrubber. I'm not going to give him that. Yeah. I don't think he meant that one, but Darcy Cameron in the right spot at the right time. Good response from the Pies.
Bombers with the first 3, Collingwood with the last 2, so it's Essendon by 5 points. Draper in the middle wins the tap, but Elliott first possession, hooks a kick down the wing. Fist comes from behind, Essendon with the numbers, members side. McGrath onto it, hand pass away to Clark, goes back to Hind. In front of the interchange, sends a high ball down to half forward. Devon Smith the target, Murphy flies over the back, spills down to Smith of the Bombers. Hand pass to Heppel, still at half forward, gives it to Perkins, kicks deep to Waterman. Waterman, great use of the body, held out Madgen and takes the mark in his left hand, and he'll shoot from 20 metres out on a slight angle.
That was a really good kick. Didn't have a lot of time and space, Perkins. Good outnumber, but it was a lot different than the last centre square bounce. The ball came out wide here, but Essendon from a spoil from Hind had the outnumber, ran to the contest, supported Hind, and then the outnumber came from Essendon, and then a really good kick to that open side. That was the kick that we used to just kick on Fraser Garrick's left shoulder, bally back in the day.
Waterman, a safe drop punt off that left boot as he puts it through post high. Bombers stop the mini run for the Magpies. They've got their 4th. Essendon 4-1-25, Collingwood 2-2-14. 23 travelled opening term.
It was a great kick from Archie Perkins, wasn't it? He's a really good decision maker for a young player. I think not a high possession getter, but he doesn't need a heap of the footy across that half forward region in particular. And he just wheeled. It was a 2-step kick. He identified the space, didn't he? And he identified that Waterman had that side of his opponent covered, and it was a really, really smart kick. And a good mark in the end from Waterman, it must be said. It certainly wasn't an uncontested mark. He used his body really well and reached out the left juke, and it stuck. So a good start to him. He's one of those players that we spoke about before the game. He'll be really wanting to nail down that spot for next week.
Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard, your experts on ABC Sport. Draper wins down the tap, back in the middle, but side bottom emerges with it for Collingwood. Hand pass to Grundy, feeds it to DeGoey. Out of the middle they go, kicks inside 50, wide of... in the end, Ginnivan trying to race after it. He thought he was held by Laverty, and it rolls out of play for a boundary throw-in. Right forward pocket for the Magpies. 24 minutes gone in the opening term. Essendon leading by 11 points. Toss back into play. Grundy tries to work his way to the front against Draper. Tapping it down, looking for DeGoey. It comes off the boot of Heppel and rolls out of play in the right forward pocket.
Earlier today, a comfortable win for St Kilda down in Hobart against the Dockers. So this game, very little meaning for the Bombers. They're going to feature in the finals regardless of what happens here. Both ruckmen miss it from the bounce. Laverty away to McGrath to Heppel, and now Hind all by hand. His kick out towards the members' wing. He doesn't get to anyone in particular, and in the end collects from Adams. His hand pass over the boundary line. Francis taken out by Howe. We'll have a throw-in. And after all that, a neutral ball situation between wing and half forward for the Magpies. Another game to come tonight to complete the regular season. It's Adelaide and North. Two teams down the other end of the table from the boundary throwing. Shield tackled without it. No, he was tackled and threw it. So free kick for Collingwood. Jack Crisp will get it. Just forward of the wing for the Magpies.
Losing their balance and shape around stoppages at the moment, the Bombers. If anything, they're a bit too aggressive on the fly, too much.
Crisp on his left foot sends Collingwood into attack over the head of Ginnivan. A tug at the back of the jumper, and it's going to be a Collingwood free kick. Dacos's way. He'll take the free kick on the 45-degree angle, only about 15 to 20 metres out from goal. Laverde indiscretion just got him round the head as he was floating by trying to lay the tackle. And Josh Dacos with a chance, all of a sudden, to close the gap once more for Collingwood. Missed 5 weeks with a finger injury, back in the Collingwood senior side and back kicking a much-needed goal for the Magpies late in this opening term. So Collingwood starting to find their groove. And the margin back to 5 points. The Bombers 4-1-25 to the Pies 3-2-20. 26 minutes gone opening term.
Yeah, they are losing their structure and stoppages, Luke, as you may have mentioned. They're just getting a little bit in close, losing their width. It looks like everyone, as we know, is generally only one or two targeted midfielders that generally should go for the ball. The other guys playing their role, holding their width, but it looks like all four of them, including the winner, are getting sucked in, trying to get to that drop zone of the ball. So Collingwood doing a good job there, just holding their width, pushing the Essendon players under the ball coming to the outside, and the Laverty just, I think he's a little bit flat that he overplayed or misread that kick coming in, and then pretty reckless attempt to grab the ball, as you were saying to the umpire.
Essendon by 5, restart back in the middle. The umpire goes over and the bounce was crooked. Umpire Brett Roseberry tripping over the foot of Stringer. I haven't called his name a heap early, Jake Stringer.
It's the only thing that's hit his foot to this point. Just the one handball for Jakey.
Both rucks miss it the second time he chucks it up. Comes to Parrish, hand pass to Stringer. Just walks out of the tackle from side bottom, right on cue. Kicks wide to Durham, who takes the mark. Just forward of the southern wing. Wants to play on, takes on Ginnivan on the mark. Durham off his left boot, kicks inside the forward 50. A running start from Francis, can't complete the pack mark. Spills down underneath Guelphy. He's wrapped up. Umpire says, I'll have it. And a ball up centre half forward for the Bombers.
Closing in on quarter time. Cameron doing the ruck against Draper. One down the tap, but straight to Dev Smith, who snaps on goal and misses to the left-hand side. Essendon's lead is 6 points at the 28-minute mark of the opening term.
Already got one today, Devon Smith, so kicked a goal in his last 6 games now, and the short kick out, Madgen to Howe, and Waterman was trying to stand the mark as Howe was trying to play on.
He's about to give another one away here if he's not switched on. I don't know what he's doing, Alec Waterman there.
I'm not sure Howe was awake to it either.
Oh my
what
goodness.
Is he oh, no.
What is he doing? Oh my goodness.
Alec Waterman has given away 2 50-metre penalties back-to-back. He was cruising alongside Howe, who'd been marched 50. Howe went short to DeGoey and cruising through on the same line. Alec Waterman was still in the way and in the wrong spot. So now DeGoey will be marched within 30 of the sticks. And Alec Waterman can only watch on from the middle of the ground. The Pies get a gift. DeGoey cashes it in and scores a level. 29 minutes into the opening term. And Alec Waterman won't want to see that back. 4-2, 26 apiece. Scores level approaching quarter time.
So not only did it once, you caught him for a second time. That was when
I was watching him. He's just running.
That was running back with the umpire. Because the rule is you have to be at least equal with the umpire.
Yeah, he's running behind Jeremy Howe, not even trying to get out. I mean, it's round 23, Alec.
But
it's the sort of thing you could excuse it in the pre-season. But
he might be the only guy who doesn't know the rule.
Well,
Turn to Brett Rosemary, wanting him to explain what he'd done wrong.
But the listeners at home, it wasn't that one that Bawley was referring to. It was then the next one where Howe kicked it to DeGoey, and then he's ran in from behind DeGoey to tell, I think it was DeGoey's opponent, to get back.
Yep.
We see it on the replay here. It was Clark. He was trying to call Clark back. So what are you doing?
What would your feedback be like, BJ, when a player's just given away back-to-back 50s?
That's just stupidity. I don't think you can say anything to him.
I don't think you would be saying anything to him. Back in the middle, Cameron and Draper. A chance for the Bombers to get the clearance once more through Parrish. Kicks to half forward and Clark takes the mark. The two number 37 side by side as Clark pulls in the mark against Maynard.
Yeah, he's got the matchup. He's going to Maynard as at defensive forward. He's been pretty good too, Dylan Clark.
Looks to send the Bombers inside 50. Draper's pushed forward. It's wide of him. And Madgen takes a good mark. One-on-one with Waterman. Jack Madgen, the former basketballer, looking to switch play across his defensive goals to Roughhead in game 200. He plays on and looks to send Collingwood out to the southern side. Henry in front of Stewart, couldn't complete the mark. Dacos comes in, gets the hand pass to Ginnivan, works it back to Crisp. He's tackled by Snelling, needs support. Back to Ginnivan, the kick was smothered, still a chance for the Bombers. Smith sweats onto it, wins the footy in the right forward pocket. Hand pass to Redmond, he gathers into the open goal and puts it through. Mason Redmond, the unlikely goal scorer, and no doubt he'll be celebrating with Dev Smith, who kept the ball alive when many thought it was about to go out. And sure enough, Mason Redmond able to get on the end of it and almost put it through the goalkeeper's legs. His fifth goal for the season, his seventh of his career. And the Bombers are back in front by 6 points. 5-2-32 to Collingwood 4-2-26. 31 minutes gone. Opening term.
Well, that was almost the Essendon of the first kind of 8 rounds, wasn't it? The pressure, the frontal pressure, that old chestnut Paulie, but the pressure came. Collingwood tried to get the handball out and get out into space through handball, but they were continually under pressure. The smother came. I'm not sure who it was on that far side. Again, Snelling. It was actually Redmond himself.
Goal kicker, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And Dev Smith there again, hunting the pressure, getting involved in defence.
Yeah, he's been good too, Smith, hasn't he?
Yeah, and then you get rewarded in offence. So Dev started really well, 9 touches, having a hand in a couple of other score involvements.
Something going on with the disc in the centre square there today. Maybe we know it's probably going to be the last game here for the year.
Cameron went very early. Draper grabs it out of the ruck. Hurried kick forward, and Dacos marks coming off the wing for the Magpies. Plays on. Kicks quickly to centre half forward for Collingwood. Stewart back and marking. And Henry looking around at the umpire. He ends up on his backside, and his direct opponent Ridley's now getting the footy as Stewart goes short to Ridley at half back. Essendon by 6 points after that last goal to Redmond. And Ridley from the back flank. Long to the wing. They come from all directions. Francis spoils down from the back. McGrath to Merritt. Merritt's hand pass out wide to Smith. Kicks along the boundary line and Waterman marks. He's in front of the benches. And of course, Alec Waterman's going to load up and kick a spiral after the bell. He would need that ball to have a magnet on it to try and make its way in from there. It lands about 30 metres out from the Essendon goal. Really low pressure game for the Bombers now with their spot in the 8 already decided. 5-2-32, Collingwood 4-2-26. A lot of Essendon fans may have been thinking it would be a tense afternoon, needing to win to lock up their place in the 8. They're going to be there in the final series starting next week, regardless of what happens here. So Dons by 6, Clinchy, the goal kickers, 1 each for Smith, Perkins, Wright, Redmond and Waterman. While for Collingwood, 1 each to DeGoey, Elliott, Dacos and Cameron.
As always, you can get in touch with us on the SMS 0437 774 774 as Mark has in Adelaide. Chris Mayne's 248th game for Collingwood, the same 248th in total, the same as David McKay for the Crows. Yes, all the retirements this weekend, and Dave McKay plays his final match in the game between Adelaide and North Melbourne. We've had some great retirements this weekend, and one of the great things now is to try and celebrate the contributions that have taken place to the game. The Bombers leading by 6 points at quarter time on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Hi.
Hello. We're from the police.
We're from McCallum Real Estate.
Yep, sorry, that.
Come home to Rosehaven one last time.
What? Sorry, just a bit excited. It's like a panic attack, but with joy. Attack.
Luke McGregor and Celia Piccola are back for the final season.
Exactly.
What?
Couldn't decide whether to say bingo or exactly.
All right.
Of Rosehaven, Wednesday 9 p.m. on ABC TV and streaming on iView.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Grundy and Draper clears both, and Draper's awake to that, tries to soccer it forward awkwardly the first time, bit more purchase on the second, and finds Francis at the left half forward, a vacant 50. Players stream in, goes deepest towards Perkins and is on the bounce, gathers at the top of the goal square, turns on his right and bounces through the opening goal proceedings. Shield trying to get the clearance for the Bombers, retreats back, lost some ground, and Crisp is onto it. 50 out from goal, rushes the kick to Cameron, who takes the mark almost at the top of the goal square. Cameron comes in and puts through his 22nd of the season.
Spills down to Smith of the Bombers. Hand pass to Heppel, still at half forward. Gives it to Perkins. Kicks deep to Waterman. Waterman. Great use of the body. Held out Madgen and takes the mark in his left hand. Waterman, a safe drop punt off that left boot as he puts it through post high.
Crisp, he's tackled by Snelling. Needs support. Back to Ginnivan, the kick was smothered, still a chance for the Bombers. Smith sweats onto it, wins the footy in the right forward pocket. Hand pass to Redmond, he gathers into the open goal and puts it through.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
The final day of the home and away season on Grandstand AFL. Earlier, St Kilda winners by 58 points over Fremantle, 17-5, 107 to the Dockers, 6-13-49 with Sharman kicking 4. And 3 goals to Tim Membry, meaning that the Bombers are guaranteed to feature in finals regardless of whether they win this afternoon against the Magpies or not. They're leading by 6 points, though, at quarter time, 5-2-32 to the Magpies, 4-2-26. The thoughts of Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard, your experts on ABC Sport.
Well, you mentioned low pressure in terms of the result, Corb. It hasn't necessarily been a high-pressure game either. Looking at the tackle count, I only had the 8, the Bombers, so that certainly hasn't been them this year. And it's just been that sort of game, though. The once it's sort of spread from stoppage, it's been pretty open. Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And the Bombers have flicked the ball around with hands a fair bit and really taken what the Pies have given them. But and in the end, it was, you felt like the Bombers were in control. And looking at inside 50s, they ended up pretty even at 13 all. So just a couple of little signs that the Bombers aren't quite, we spoke about throughout the quarter, aren't quite playing to adhering to their structures around the ball. They lost a bit of shape, a bit of balance around clearance. We thought they might have been running a bit ahead of the ball before it had been won a couple of times, and that resulted in Collingwood goals the other way a couple of times with their exit kicks outside 50. So you've had your eye on that, the Bombers' front six, and we know that that's probably their weakest link, I suppose, if you want to say that, across the ground. Their back six been pretty solid this year. We know they're good through the middle. The focus is going to be on that front six, just to be able to, I guess, have a work rate that allows them to compete.
Well, it's two things, isn't it? It's the work rate, and it's also having the knowledge and the know-how of running patterns where they need to get to. It's decisions off the ball. So when the ball's out of your area, what decisions are you making? For mine at the minute, I pointed out Sammy Draper once. It was Aaron Francis another time. They were too busy ball watching, where if you that's where the term do your work early comes into it, is you make decisions when the ball's out of your area to set up. Almost as a bit of insurance. If this happens, if we're under pressure, I need to be here, but I'll get there early, set up, rather than trying to do it all late when we finally win the ball and I've got to get here, but you actually don't have time. So good players like Jeremy Howe has done for so long. He's playing 1 or 2 steps ahead. He's reading the play. He's setting up defensively when the ball's out of his area in relation to where the ball is, all that kind of thing. So Essendon's forwards just have to do a better job at making early decisions, and understandably sometimes, like you said, it is a bit about work rate. sometimes it is that you just buggered and you just can't get there. That's fair enough, but I think overall it comes down to decisions and work rate. So Essendon's forwards just need to work a little bit harder to get where they need to be for their teammates.
Second quarter underway. Essendon leading by 6 points. Draper wins down the tap against Grundy. Stringer tries to swat it forward. Picked off by Dacos, though. His kick is intercepted by Guelphy inside the centre square. Kicks towards Perkins. Couldn't take the mark against Wilson. Reinforcements arrive. Main with the hand pass back to Madgen for Collingwood. Out to Wilson at right half back. Kicks around the southern wing in the direction of Hoskin Elliott. Haven't called him much. Couldn't take the mark as Hine wrestles for the footy and the ball's locked in under the Great Southern stand.
Sun's still a bit of an issue, isn't it? That city end, the Punt Road end.
It's definitely an advantage, going the other way, isn't it?
It was the first time as well, Clinchy, so without a stat so far, Hoskin Elliott in the game from the restart. Murphy picks it up, takes on the tackler, caught, dispossessed, holding the ball and a free kick for the Bombers. The kick's going to go Clark's way, so he's got it in the sunshine, goes very short to Shield. Dylan Shield now 5th game back. Kicks off a standing start down to half forward. Francis the target. Slips through the hands of he and Madgen. Main mops it up. Gives it back to Madgen for the Magpies. To Crisp. In the defensive 50 to Grundy. Some indecision. Lost it. In the tackle. Comes out to Perkins. Hand pass to Stringer. Grabs the footy but retreating. Running the wrong way. Snaps to the top of the goal square. And the Magpies will get it back. Dacos away to Crisp.
He spots to go. He free at the defensive 50. Chips it over his head. He marks at left half back for Collingwood. Thought about coming wide to Bianco. We'll put it more into the path of Crisp, who kept running. He can advance it up to Hoskin Elliott. So his first kick of the game. Has it between wing and half forward on the members' side. As Elliott deepest. Cameron now as well. He turns it straight over. Snelling couldn't take the mark. He was looking for DeGoey. The Bombers might still make them pay as Waterman gathers. Gets the hand pass to Cutler. On the members' wing, takes a bounce. He has no one inside the attacking 50. So he's going to have to tread water and chip it over the top to right. Working into space. Wilson did enough to bring the ball to ground. Madgen races back. Hand pass to Roughhead and now to Howe. Hemmed in against the boundary. Turns on his left-hand side, but straight to the Bombers, and Cutler takes the mark.
First 3 games of the year, he was the Medi sub for the Bombers. Cutler in the team now, and that's a perfect kick. Waterman with a bit of space, and he marks 30 out directly in front. It was a crowded forward 50, and the placement absolutely spot on from Tom Cutler.
There you go, 2 really good decisions by Cutler. Yep. Yeah, he's probably the decision prior to that one actually was probably a bit questionable, but he just needed to utilise his numbers around him initially. He took ground and then almost ran himself into trouble because Collingwood was so well set up behind the ball, but that was a really great decision, a really good execution.
So Alec Waterman picked up in the pre-season in the 22 with a game to play before the finals, and he's got a couple here. Early stages, second term. Waterman doing his best to shore up his spot. 6-2-38. Collingwood 4-2-26. 12-point spread Essendon's way. Luke Ball, Brendan Goddard, Grandstand AFL.
Well, he's net one, isn't he? Because we've got to take one off him. He's kicked 2. We've got to take one off him for that double 50-metre penalty in the first quarter. But he is a natural forward, isn't he? He finds ways into little holes in the forward 50, and that was a slow play. And as you said, he didn't even lead. He just held and hovered, and it was a beautiful kick from Cutler. I've been so impressed by him because, as I said, I think the knock on him in the past has been probably his decision-making a bit, and you're right, a couple of times today. That's twice now. He's set up goals with really intelligent kicks inside 50, which we know is the hardest kick in the game. So well done, Tom Cutler.
Luke Ball with you on ABC Sport. Essendon kicked the first 3 goals of the match, got out by 17 before Collingwood answered. Draper back in the middle of the ground, got the clearance to McGrath. They work it forward through Merritt to Stringer on 50, on the run. He flares it out to the right, misses everything. Out of bounds on the full. And Collingwood to take it through. Jeremy Howe with no damage being done, trailing by 12 points. Switches play across the defensive goal to Madgen. Has the mark in the right back pocket. He's going to switch back to the left pocket where Maynard takes the mark.
A number of short options. Maynard in the end decides to go long down the line. Cameron arriving, meets it, takes the juggled mark. Darcy Cameron in the one-on-one with Stewart, then pulls the trigger on the 45 to Adams. He and Jamie Elliott both with the same hairdo today with the shaved bonds for the final round. Haircuts pretty hard to come by during lockdown as Adams into the middle of the ground to Goey. Hand pass away to Howe from the centre circles. Kicks out wide, and Murphy in the Sunshine southern wing. Kicks to half forward. Wilson up strong. The pressure from Snelling from behind. And Tom Wilson takes the contested mark right half forward for Collingwood. He's going to go short. He won't have a kick. And in the shadows of the light tower, drifting forward, Nathan Murphy hangs on to it.
That's pretty ordinary marking a couple of times there from the Bombers, but good ball use from the Pies. They were just able to shift the ball off the line all the way through, weren't they? And bring the ball back inside and access the open side, the fat side of the ground. Really smart play. That's the way to beat any team's zone defence these days, team defence, isn't it, these days, BJ? And they found themselves a mark inside 50 with some pretty slack marking.
Just the one goal in his 17 games. Nathan Murphy on the drop punt. Hits the post. Looked good. Goal umpire was riding it all the way home, but a minor score. Collingwood 4-3, Essendon 6-2. 11-point lead for the Bombers, 6 played second term.
Redmond looks to bring the Bombers back into play. Loads up with a long kick over the head of Wright and Clark. Got all the way out to the middle of the southern wing, members' wing. It was a long kick. Maynard thought it may have even been a free kick, I think.
Yeah, they forgot that you're allowed to play on.
Out
of the square.
You guys were saying earlier how much the kicks are travelling a little further to the city end.
Yeah, so
it's a roost.
They all misread it.
Bombers by 11 points from the throw in. Side bottom gathers. 1-2 with Noble. Sidey has it again at left half back. Looks to kick towards Madgen. Got a cruel bounce. Waterman jumped in the middle. Got it to Durham. Kicks inside the 50. Devon Smith pushing forward. He can give it off to Stringer. Into the open goal square. Jake's going to put it through. Just dribbles it into the signage behind the goals. A costly turnover for Collingwood. And the Bombers make them pay the full toll. 17-point advantage Essendon's way. 7-2-44 to Collingwood. 4-3-27. 7 minutes gone, second term.
There was initially really good work by Collingwood to get it out of that congestion in a side bottom that was involved a number of times, and then a man that you don't associate turnovers really with, he's kicked an absolute floater on the switch. It was a 50, 55 metre kick, and it just floated there, which caused the bad bounce, and it fell short of Madgen, I think it was, and then Waterman just close enough to clean it up, and another good decision going inside 50 by Durham. It was really good. So Collingwood would be flat with that too. At least go back and make Dev Smith have a shot on goal from 35 out. Just don't allow Jake Stringer to get out the back there and literally run into an open goal. So switched off a little.
He's looked really sharp, Dev Smith, hasn't he? He had a flat patch during the year. Some questioning his role in the team, but he's been terrific today.
Essendon by 17. Restart back in the middle. Elliott and Merritt both lock up inside the centre circle, and we'll do it all again. Essendon, the number one team in the competition for scores in the first 10 minutes of quarters, so they start terms really well, obviously, by that metric. And already today we've seen some goals in the first 10 minutes of both the first and this second term. Merritt feeds it out of the middle to Stringer. He links up by hand to Dev Smith, cuts his way through, shares it with Wright, who takes the mark. 15 out just left of centre. He could have gone for goal, Dev Smith, but he's trying to get everyone involved in that forward arc.
I think he's learnt from a couple of weeks ago. I think we were calling that game, Corbin, where he just happened to burn one of the best users in the game in Zachy Merritt. So I just got a little bit of word following week that they may have just had a chat to him and said you've got to use your teammates and best option available. So, handed another one.
So for Dev Smith, a goal assist for Stringer, and now one for Peter Wright, who pops it through from the set shot. Essendon off and running, 8-2-50. Collingwood 4-3-27. All of a sudden, it's a new game high. The Dons by 23 points, 9 minutes into the second term.
Oh, it's great. And we talk about great teams in recent years. You see players getting as much joy out of setting up a goal than kicking it themselves, and that's been a real shift in Devon Smith. So that's his sixth score involvement for the day. So, as I said, he's looked fantastic, playing in a pretty tough role, and it was his mate, great mate Jakey Stringer involved in again. He really is. You watch him playing that Dusty Martin role. A lot of players around the ball, and some say it's a gamble. And it is a bit of a risk because if the Pies win it, then he's looking a bit silly and out of place. But backed his teammates to be good enough to win it, and then away he went. He was goal side, and he's pretty dangerous in that situation.
Game high 23-point advantage Essendon's way. Draper and Grundy back in the middle of the ground. Grundy trying to get it to side bottom. Collingwood with a clearance off the outside of the boot into the path of DeGoey. Cleverly swatted it onto Thomas. Edge of the centre square. Kicks to the top of the 50. Henry tackled by Hine. Ball comes clear. Elliott trying to backpedal. Kicks inside the 50. No one really there for Collingwood. And Durham takes the mark 40 metres out from his defensive goal. Pies haven't scored in this second quarter. All the way back to Stewart in the left back pocket. He looks to advance it up to the wing. It won't quite get to Guelph. He had to spoil, but gave away the free kick against Cameron. He'll take it at right half forward for Collingwood.
Darcy Cameron, he had a big day on Anzac Day. Kicked a few up front for the Magpies. This is Madgen with the free for Collingwood. Who looks inside the forward 50. Kicks it to the hot spot. Grundy flying for it. No mark. Falls down to DeGoey. He's gang tackled straight away and we'll have a ball up. 30 out from the Magpies goal. Saints winners earlier today over Fremantle. Ended up 58 points in the finish. So the top 8 is set. The Bombers are there. Regardless of the result this afternoon, they've made a good start here though and lead Collingwood by 23. From the ball up, Durham tries to run through a tackle. He's held up. We'll have a ball up again. So the pack forms 40 metres out from Collingwood's goal. Another stoppage. Dons by 23. 11 played second term.
It'll be a quiet flight home for the Dockers. Big winners in the Derby. Couldn't get it done in Tassie this afternoon. Put pressure on the Bombers. Merritt gets the clearance inside the defensive 50. Sends it up into the middle of the ground and Perkins marks on his chest. Players streaming past him. Trying to decide on the right avenue forward. Decides to go out wider to the southern wing. Puts it out in front of Guelph. He has enough time to fumble and then gets around Madgen with a fend off. Gets towards left half forward and loads up. Waterman backpedaling. Couldn't take the mark with his fingertips. Maynard in the back pocket for Collingwood. Hand pass to side bottom. Links up with Howe. Around the boundary line to Noble. Who can continue around with Main. All by hand out of defence. And now to Murphy at right half back. Drives Collingwood up to the wing. Over the head of Henry. Elliott flies in the pack. Henry stayed down front and centre but turned it straight over with a hand pass to Cutler of the Dons. Away to Merritt. To Ridley. To Parrish. Essendon trying to pounce on the attack but the kick is wide of Snelling and rolls out at left half forward. The Bombers leading by 23 points. 12 minutes gone, second term. Of course, our South Australian audience will depart at half time. We'll take you to the Crows and North Melbourne. For everyone else, we'll head there at the conclusion of this game.
12 minutes second term, Dons by 23 from the throw-in. Grundy wins it, but straight down to Merritt. Kicks into oncoming traffic. Ball ricochets out wide. Snelling lays a heavy tackle on Murphy. Collingwood, though, win it back as Main to Maynard. Away to side bottom, back to Main, all by hand. He gives it to Noble. Tackled as he goes to kick. Still makes its way to Crisp. He too wrapped up and Pink holding the ball, trying to take on Heppel. And Heppel lays the tackle. And that's enough for the umpire to say that's holding the ball. Jack Crisp penalised. The Essendon captain, Dyson Heppel, lays it up. Top of the goal square, Peter Wright with the running start. And Wright puts the mitts up and marks overhead. And a chance to go back and make it 3 before half-time.
Well, you're going to struggle if you let old 2-metre Peter just run and jump at the ball. He does have ability like some of those great tall forwards. Luke, you've taken the ball at its highest point, which is a lot higher than most others, so you've got to get body on him, not allow him to run and jump.
2-metre Peter has 3 already today. 13 minutes into the second term, and Essendon out to a 29-point buffer. The Dons 9-2-56, Collingwood 4-3-27. Luke Ball, Brendan Goddard, Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, you're right, Beach. Yeah, he's certainly, I mean, he's as good as anyone in the comp with that run and jump at it, isn't he? At the highest point. That's a strength of his. And Jordan Rufford has had a great year, it must be said, been very reliable, consistent for the Pies. Just wasn't able to get body in front of him and let him a decent run and jump. You'd love your ruckman to be able to get back. Just looking at the replay, Brodie Grundy was on his way back but not able to get there in time. And yeah, just good use of the body from Wright. And
Rufford was initially there, just a little push off to find that separation.
Yeah, and nice clunk. So again, good signs for the Bombers fans. And the good thing about Wright is now you look out and he's in the centre bounce, so he can take his turn in the ruck as well to give Sammy Draper a rest.
Up to 28 goals for the season for Peter Wright. Collingwood get the clearance through Adams. The hand pass to side bottom inside 50. Ginnivan was worked off it. A chance for Cutler to clear for the Bombers. Kicks across his body in the back pocket. Up to half back. Tough bouncing ball for Guelphy. Dacos first on for Collingwood. Almost run down. Just got the hand pass to Sidebottom. One trying to give it back to Sidey was Wilson. He turns and kicks to a vacant 50. And Peter Wright, filling the hole, takes the mark.
Essendon by 29. Wright with the last 2 in the game. He goes short and wide out to Nick Hind. What a year he's had. First year at his new club. And first time he's played every game in a season.
Unbelievable year, really, isn't he?
Just slotted in the whole left by Adam Sard in defence for Essendon. Goes down the wing. No clean possession. Spills to Guelphy in tight. Hand pass to Parrish. Extracts it to Wright, to McGrath, to Shield. Back to Wright, back to McGrath, all by hand. Gives it to Hind. Kicks across the ground to Cutler. They're well set up here, the Dons, as Redmond takes the mark backward of the centre circles.
Wants to get the hand pass over the top to Stewart, who has to get around to go. He did so, but lost the footy. To go, he brushed off as he gets the kick inside 50. A juggling mark claimed by Madgen. The kick didn't favour Francis, and Jack Madgen takes the mark 30 metres out from his defensive goal. Short to Adams. Taylor Adams, of course, who missed such a large chunk of this season with that knee injury. Goes out of defence to Noble. Will give it back to Adams at the back edge of the centre square. Works it up through the southern side of the ground. Hoskin Elliott takes the mark, and now to Wilson. Kicks to Henry, who marks just outside 50. Can poke it to Thomas, who's all on his own. And Josh Thomas takes the mark in the left forward pocket. He's pretty much directly in front. Will kick from 35 metres out.
Yeah, that was textbook ball work and ball movement, bully from the back half.
Training drill, wasn't it?
Well, using the corridor, which we all want to do, but did it with absolute precision. And then Jaden Laverty was the man that lost his opponent. I think there was a handover, and Josh Thomas had worked really hard. It was initially in the midfield as a forward and then pushing hard just to release forward. No guarantees, just to get on the end of it.
11 goals so far this season. Collingwood desperately need it. Thomas comes in and kicks their first goal of the second quarter. It comes at the 16-minute mark after the Bombers had put on 4 in this term in the last 5 of the match. So an important one for Collingwood as it was starting to fade away. The Bombers 9-2-56 leading the Magpies 5-3-33.
The key was that they just kept the ball in motion, wasn't it? It was the overlap from Adams to get it back from Noble and the short pass, and then
Wilson.
I think it was young Wilson, who showed something. Might be that he's wearing the number 12 boots. I haven't seen that much too much, but no, I like the way he just turned and went, and something opened up, and as you said, they were able to just slightly shift it offline, but find holes in that Essendon defence. And
it was actually the kick from Wilson that set everything up.
Yeah, it was. They came back inside, and then they were able to get the overlap and the player free. So, love to see a bit more of that now. Just in this second half, just play with a bit more sort of reckless abandon out of half back, get some overlap run.
Parrish, Merritt and Shield, the 3 at the centre bounce for the Bombers from the restart. Adams wins it for Collingwood. Hand pass to Grundy, kicks out to half forward. There's a free for a hold. It's going to go Essendon's way. It's coming back to Cutler.
But that type of ball movement for Essendon is a concerning thing. They're just allowing that too much, particularly in the back end of this year, where in their first 8 weeks they were really hard to score against, and not too many teams were getting the ball back, because we all want to get the ball there. I want to say we, said they, as if I'm playing there, but they all want to get the ball there, but Essendon did a really good job in the first half of the year of stopping that.
Cutler down the southern wing, and Collingwood across half-back. Howe had it, gave it to Noble, slips through his hands, invites Snelling in, has a couple of goes at it. Snelling to centre half forward to Merritt, tackled, great tackle from Thomas. Just pinned the arm. Merritt had no choice but to throw it away. As Thomas takes the free for Collingwood, goes short, still at centre half-back, Noble.
We can send it wide to Madgen. Madgen on the defensive 50, up to Elliott, who marks it left half-back on the members' side. Wanted to come inboard, but that option dried up. So we'll kick it around the members' wing to Hoskin Elliott. He's got Cameron with a couple of metres on Ridley. Ridley trying to get back, but Cameron at full stretch takes in the mark. 55 metres out from goal. Henry slips over inside the forward 50, so he is down, Henry. So Cameron doesn't really have too many options to go for. Sends it long towards Murphy. He's got 2 to beat. clears him and Durham, and Laverty's able to gather against the boundary line. Hand pass to Clark, works it to Parrish. The umpire got in the way. Parrish fires out a hand pass to Shield, who didn't have to break stride at left half back. The hand pass was wide of Francis though. Collingwood retake it. Main to rough it. His hand pass intercepted, and Dev Smith's away.
He's had a good day so far, Smith. Set up a few goals. Kicked one himself, couple of bounces, and then goes back and across to Merritt. Logo southern wing, pokes the pass forward to the runner Francis. Never broke stride, marks, kicks deep, and Snelling in line with the behind post takes the mark for the Bombers.
It was out. Your man Dev Smith today having influence coming up here again.
Every time he touches it.
Yeah, his first thought though was defence, because he rolled up, left his man to roll up on the next guy in front of him, and the turnover, the poor handball came, and he influenced the play, and then
Snelling snap in with the right boot, pops it through. It's back to 29 Essendon's way as we tick into time on second term. Essendon 10-2-62, Collingwood 5-3-33. Brendan Goddard.
And then you get the ball in, good ball, uses hands. It was Zachy Merritt. Again, it was almost like a reflection of the last bit of play from Collingwood where Wilson just lowered his eyes. Zachy Merritt was outside that launch zone of that 50-70. He was probably about 85 out from goal. So to get the ball into that launch zone, and then it exposed that lack of defence and lack of structure behind the ball of Collingwood, where Snelling was running in, arguably playing the old Pagan, not deliberately, but the Pagan's paddock, where he had a lot of space to run back into. But really good. We see the replay of Jaden Laverty, and
bit of a swinging arm, wasn't it? So you don't want to be carrying on like that, or just giving them any chance. Coming into the finals, but it was Smith's decision to come back inboard, wasn't it? He looked up, there was no one ahead of play, and he brought the ball back inboard, brought his runners into play. There's another shocking bounce again. There's something going on in the centre square today.
It just backs up my argument. Just throw the ball up. Sick of it.
So the umpire is going to do that this time. Grundy up against Draper. Grundy one down the tap. Ricochets off Adams. Back to Grundy. Gets the hand pass to Hoskin Elliott. Sends a spiralling ball inside 50. Cameron takes the mark in front position on his chest. In front of Stewart. Did well to read it. And was able to clock the mark. Directly in front. He'll kick from about 40 metres out. 5-1 in this second term Essendon's way. So it's an important goal for the Pies. It's felt like on a couple of occasions could start to drift out past the 5-goal margin.
Mate, you were involved. You were at the AFL for a while, Luke. What was their reluctancy around throwing the ball up as opposed to keeping the traditional bounce?
Just that, I think. Yeah, just the tradition of it. I think there's
Darcy Cameron shooting for his second, misses to the left-hand side, a minor score. The margin is 28 points the Dons' way. Sorry, Bolly.
No, I was going to say that's the tradition of the game, and the charter of the game that's been there for forever and a day. So that was always the stumbling block.
Laverty marks the kick out and then goes long down the wing. Madgen puts his fist into it, but it spills straight down to Clark. Hand pass to McGrath. Hand pass back to Smith. Floats one up over halfway to Waterman. Still with Essendon, still by hand. Back to Snelling. Hand pass away to Shield. Shield now kicks 25 metres in reverse. Back to Laverty. 28-point lead for the Bombers, closing in on half-time. Must be said, been a pretty bruise-free encounter. The tackle count for both teams fairly low stakes game after Fremantle's loss earlier. The Bombers guaranteed a spot in the finals. Laverty's kick's coming back, hooking it along the boundary line. As Bianco finds De Goey on the 45 to Rantoul, and his first touch coming up.
Gives it back to De Goey, who feeds it back to Bianco. Left half forward for Collingwood, blazes away. No one really there, and Ridley, despite Ginnivan closing late, is able to take the mark. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Concern for the Pies. Ollie Henry's gone down to the rooms holding his right side collarbone, so that's a worry for the Pies. And Dyson Heppel's had both boots off in the last few moments. That's usually a concern with his feet and ankle history, but it looks like a blister on both sides. It looks like a pair of new boots. BJ might need time to harden up.
Warm out there today, an extra 5 degrees.
Needs to get the Nikes on, mate.
Couple hugs the boundary.
Sorry, Clinchy. Concern for young Henry. It's a bit of a concern for Jaden Laverty too. If he's a bit sore, keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, Mitch said it was his shoulder, so that may have been when he hit the ground. Yeah. I don't think Jaden had the force and the strike to actually do anything to his collarbone.
Durham had it spoiled away from him. Throw in on right half forward for the Pies. Draper one down the tap. Grundy follows up his ruck work, trying to get it to Maynard, holding the ball. And an Essendon free kick to be taken between halfback and the southern wing. Going the way of Will Snelling. Mid-season pick-up a couple of years ago and providing that pressure for the Bombers. Goes short to Shield and then out to Hine, who takes the mark under the Great Southern stand. The Bombers leading by 28 points, having led by 6 at quarter time. Kicked 5 goals to 1 in this second quarter. And Shield receives it back from Hine and now decides to just drive it long around the southern wing. Francis the target, nudged underneath it by Madgen, gets to the back. Stringer trying to get a boot to it, couldn't do so. Madgen dives on the footy. Hand pass almost picked off by Parrish back inside the defensive 50, and now Maynard over the top. Merritt trying to wrench it clear. Gets the hand pass towards Cutler, trying to spin out a side bottoms tackle. Retreats with a hand pass back towards Merritt. And now a chance for Perkins. He can't break clear as the tackle's laid by Adams with good support from Dacos. And the umpire will throw it up 55 metres out from the Bombers' goal, heading to the city end in this second term.
Up it goes. Draper wins the tap. Down to Snelling. Hand pass away to Crisp. Crisp gives it off to Dacos and now back to DeGoey. To Adams, rather, as the kick comes out to DeGoey. He overruns it. DeGoey at centre half back. Leaves it behind. Cutler collects his hand pass away to Hoskin Elliott. Back to DeGoey. Now comes out to the wing. Bit of space for Bianco. Collects the footy. Kicks down to half forward. Elliott the target. Fist comes at the back. From Laverty down to Stewart. Hand pass away to Ridley. The Bombers off the back flank. Gives it away to McGrath. McGrath kicks down the wing. Francis in a one-on-one. Nice work. Francis up and marking. Madgen was worried about his opponent with good reason in the end. Francis looks inside the centre square. Cutler the target. Spills though down towards Ginnivan, who kicks to half forward. Out to need it is Elliott. Strong mark. And Elliott's got it. 55 out left half forward. Elliott puts it inside 50, turns it straight over. Stewart takes the intercept mark. Essendon by 28 points here, 10 goals to 5, approaching half-time.
McGrath on half-back, short to Ridley. There's a few tired players walking ahead of half-time here. As Colby said, not a lot of tackles have been laid. Just 22 for the Bombers, 20 for the Magpies. Similar yesterday at the MCG between Hawthorn and Richmond. And Dev Smith, who's been involved in a lot for the Bombers, that's been positive on half-back. Finds Redmond just in front of the two benches. Essendon leading by 28 points. Redmond spinning the footy in his hands and now drives a kick towards Francis at half forward. Flying from the side was Peter Wright, got a hand to it, couldn't keep it in play as it rolls out in front of him and Jack Crisp. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Ollie Henry's back up from the room, still holding that right collarbone and rubbing it. So it looks like they might hold off with a few moments now before half-time before making a formal decision.
The subs, Bo McCreary for Collingwood, Nick Cox for Essendon. Boundary throw in, Grundy wins the tap. Still no clean possession. Passing through the stoppage, Merritt tried to give it to Shield, he went without it. Now Chris for Collingwood off the back flank. Hand pass out in front of Adams, got an unkind bounce. It'll sit okay for Shield. Essendon back with it on the wing. Hand pass to Stewart, away to Stringer. High bomb inside the forward arc. Arriving late right, crashes the pack. Spills down, Ginnivan whacks it away. Down to Durham. Paddles it to the advantage of Francis. Goes back by hand to Hyde. Kicks deep to right. And Peter Wright's up with another strong contested grab. And Peter Wright has a chance for 4 before half-time.
Well, that was really good work rate from 2 metre. He's in that, again, initial contest. That was the kick inside 50 from Stringer. The ball shift to Hine, and he worked really hard to get back to the goal square to, again, just to be an option. And he's kicked it on top of his head. And again, a run and jump who was caught out. There's a mismatch. Hoskin Elliott actually had to run back with 2 metre Peter. So good work rate from the big fella.
Kicked 7 2 weeks ago, goalless last week, and now Peter Wright has 4 in the first half. Puts it up into the top tank, and Essendon have their 11th on the stroke of half-time, 11-2-68. Collingwood 5-4-34. It's the Dons by 34 points, and it's a game-high margin at the half. Lower stakes than anticipated coming in. Fremantle defeated heavily down in Hobart. A 58-point win for St Kilda. The Bombers guaranteed a spot in the final series. They'll play the Western Bulldogs in an elimination final next week. And their last tune-up here against Collingwood today, a 34-point win in a low-stakes game. Goal kickers to half-time. Clinchy 4 for Peter Wright, then 2 for Waterman. Singles to Smith, Perkins, Stringer, Redmond and Snelling. While for Collingwood, 1 each for De Goey, Elliott, Dacos, Cameron and Thomas.
Half-time of the MCG, the Bombers leading by 34 points. The thoughts of Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard, your experts on ABC Sport.
Well, the numbers are pretty similar across the ground, Beej, in terms of contest and clearance and disposals even. Well, the Bombers have had, probably had 30, 35 more possessions. It's just been their efficiency and probably their class going forward. Really, we spoke about Dev Smith, his game. Jakey Stringer got involved that quarter a lot more, and then big 2 metre, being able to clunk a few, and they kicked 6 goals straight that quarter. That was the difference. Whereas we know that Collingwood's forward line is very young and undermanned, and even in there, what they have, they are still able to get the ball forward. Well, inside 50s are 29 to 24, so they've had some chances. Yeah, sorry, Essendon's way. But even that, 24, they've had some opportunities. They just haven't had any real sort of presence up there. Darcy Cameron's looked dangerous a couple of times, and a couple of times they're able to move the ball through Essendon's defence and get opportunities and shots on goal. But the Bombers have certainly looked a lot more potent and damaging forward of the ball, and that's been the difference in this game so far.
Yeah, it's a little bit off turnover too. We said Dev Smith being involved, but a number of guys, they kicked a goal in the first quarter. Redmond's that was involved. There was a number of players involved on the far side through pressure, but there's just, I just don't think Collingwood's structure behind the ball is holding up. Jeremy Howe's come back into the team, so they should arguably be better, or they are more experienced, but better and stronger behind it. 2 metre Peter getting a hold of Roughhead, as you made mention, but a lot of it's coming off a quicker kind of turnover. You can see the intention from both teams. They're both trying to take it back through the corridor, working for a couple of times for Collingwood. We mentioned that it was almost training like the time they got through with Wilson making really good decisions, but that's few and far between for Collingwood. But it's happening more often for Essendon, which are opening up the whole ground, exposing the defenders, playing in aggressive positions, shifting the defenders, so they're doing a really good job with ball in hand. But for mine, it's kind of not the game. Yes, they're up by 6 goals, but it's kind of not the game you wanted, or wanted to see the way they do it. Like I made mention, coming into the game that's, arguably not going to stand up in a big final. I think the only positive is that they're probably playing a really aggressive offensive team next week in the Bulldogs that it may, but I think when it gets to the pointy end, and if they're looking too far ahead, if they're able to get through next week, but when they come up against a team that are really strong defensively, which is generally the top 4 teams, this profile and this style of footy just won't hold up. But saying that, they've got themselves in a good position, and like I said, they just need to put in a good performance today to take the confidence into the next week.
Can I just ask you both about Essendon's midfield mix? Obviously, with Shield coming back, it's been a talking point all year. So he's 5 games back from injury now. So we've seen it a number of centre bounces, the combination of Parrish, Merritt and Shield. Previous to, obviously, Shield returning, Andy McGrath attended a lot of centre bounces. Now we see him really playing as that winger, or at least starting on the wing for Essendon. What have you made of the way that they've set up with those 4?
Well, it's very attacking. It's a very offensive mix, that one that you mentioned there, and it's something they're certainly going to have to consider next week going up against the Bulldogs. We know that's their strength, that's their one wood, even though they've dropped right off in terms of centre bounce and clearance work over the last month or so. But even the other night we saw a Port midfield with a little, certainly with a good balance between attack and defence. It was Willem Drew that went to Liberatore and took his influence out, and that really limited the influence of the other players to then get outside and use their run and spread. So it's going to be a talking point going into next week, and something that they'll have to consider, whether it's a Dylan Clark that might need to go in there a bit and be a bit more defensive. I mean, Stringer's not another one you haven't spoken about, who we know has been damaging in the centre bounce, but we know certainly tends to run more forward of centre. So it'll either be an unbelievable shootout next week through the middle of the ground, or maybe one team's going to have to think about injecting someone who's a bit more defensive through that part of the ground.
It'd be a tough thing to do because they haven't done it this year, both teams. So do they just go, let's go head to head? Because that's, I think at the minute, both teams got great depth. It is their one wood and it's their strength. So Bulldogs having such a good, first 15 weeks was off the back end of their midfield and the dominance of their midfield and their ability to get the ground position through clearances, all that kind of thing. And Essendon have shown that even though with a few injuries that they got great depth through there, and Andy McGrath playing a different role. But it's a great problem to have because they can change the mix if something's not working. If you know the Stringer Shield Merit mix isn't working, it's Shield Merit McGrath's. So many options to go through, and they're all pretty flexible when you weigh them all up. They can play multiple roles and multiple positions, those guys.
Might be an interesting conversation for Ben Rutten to have, as it will be at halftime when he chats to Alex Waterman, giving away a couple of 50-metre penalties in that second term. The Bombers leading by 34 points at the main break. For a South Australian audience, you're about to head off to Adelaide, taking on North Melbourne. So no late changes there with James Rowe and Bailey Scott, the respective subs. So to Aaron Bryan, Neil Cross, Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli. For everyone else, we'll head there at the completion of this match. But let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Another 3 people have died from coronavirus in New South Wales, including a man in his 60s, as the state records 830 new cases. Here's Danuta Kazaki.
Dr Marianne Gale from New South Wales Health says there are 557 cases in hospital, with 94 people in intensive care. 83 aren't vaccinated and the remainder have had 1 dose. She says 2 of the 3 deaths today acquired their infection in hospital.
A man in his 60s from southwestern Sydney who passed away at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. He acquired his infection at Canterbury Hospital.
She says while the main suburbs are in Sydney's southwest and west, there's a concerning rise in orange in the state's central west, with 4 more cases after the official 8 p.m. cut-off.
Authorities in Victoria say they're concerned about the growing number of COVID cases at Shepparton, as well as outbreaks at the Royal Melbourne Hospital and in Hobsons Bay. 65 locally acquired cases have been reported, which includes 21 linked to Shepparton and a new case emerging at Mansfield in the state's northeast. Just 12 of the cases were isolating for their entire infectious period, and there are 10 mystery cases. There are now 27 people in hospital with COVID-19, which includes 12 in intensive care. Victoria's Deputy Health Secretary Kate Maston says the outbreak at the Royal Melbourne Hospital started after a patient underwent surgery and then developed symptoms.
In the cases announced today, there are 3 cases related to the Royal Melbourne Hospital outbreak. There was a case yesterday, and we'll be announcing a further 3 cases tomorrow related to Royal Melbourne. We expect that outbreak to grow, just as we expect the Shepparton outbreak to grow.
2 ships carrying sick crew members are expected to arrive off the coast of Perth today and tomorrow. Tabarak Al-Drud with the details.
The Ken Ho vessel, which was due to berth at Albany yesterday, is now sailing to Cockburn Sound after 16 of its 22 crew members reported feeling unwell with elevated temperatures and mild respiratory symptoms. The canola green ship left its last port in Thailand on the 7th of August and is now expected to arrive in Perth around 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. WA Premier Mark McGowan has also announced a second ship is due to arrive in Cockburn Sound today with 2 sick crew members, but they're unlikely to be COVID positive because the vessel last docked in Indonesia 3 weeks ago.
The suspicion is it's just cold, but let's wait and see what the analysis shows. Hopefully that is the case.
WA has reported no new cases of COVID-19 overnight.
The federal opposition says Australians are confused about when COVID-19 restrictions will start to be eased as vaccination rates increase. National Cabinet's agreed to begin lifting restrictions once 70 to 80% of adults are fully vaccinated. The Prime Minister insists leaders should stick to the plan, despite some premiers raising concerns about doing so while case numbers remain high. Labor leader Anthony Albanese says the modelling the plan is based on assumes that vaccination targets would be reached while cases remain low.
It isn't just open at 70%, it has some assumptions in there, and it's predicated upon low numbers of cases. If there's a change in that, then that should be communicated.
Thousands of people have gathered in the Perth CBD to call for Australia to help evacuate more Afghans from an unfolding humanitarian crisis in the country. The protesters want to see Australia offer 22,000 visas to those fleeing Afghanistan. The rally is being held not far from where 99 people who were evacuated from Afghanistan are staying to complete their 14 days of hotel quarantine. WA Premier Mark McGowan says 96 of those people have so far returned negative COVID results. He says the state's intending to take in up to 80 more people from Afghanistan over the coming days. Former US President Donald Trump is stepping up his rhetoric over the rapidly unfolding situation in Afghanistan, calling it one of the greatest military defeats of all time. Despite his own administration signing the deal with the Taliban last year, committing US troops to leave the country, Mr. Trump says the current situation is humiliating. He was speaking at a rally in the state of Alabama.
Biden's botched exit in Afghanistan is the most astonishing display of gross incompetence by a nation's leader, perhaps at any time that anybody's ever seen. Vietnam looks like a masterclass in strategy compared to Joe Biden's catastrophe.
And Fremantle's AFL season has come to an end, thrashed by St Kilda in Hobart. The Dockers needed to win and have Essendon lose to play the finals for the first time since 2015, but the Saints were too good, running out 17-5-107 to 16-13-48 winners. You're up to date with ABC News.
Enjoying the footy? There's plenty more to discover. Catch up on all the best interviews and action from the weekend's coverage with the best of Grandstand podcasts. Visit ABC Sport Online wherever you get your favourite podcasts and the ABC Listen app.
Where is it? I can't find it anywhere.
Hey, Kurt. Oh, no. You've got it too, the withdrawals.
I just needed to see another double pike. Even the 100-metre sprint, just 10 seconds. I just need 10 seconds.
Kurt, it's okay. The Paras, they're coming August 24.
August 24, okay.
Can you make it?
Piece of cake.
You Little Ripper, your ultimate Paralympic podcast, begins August 24 with Kurt Fernley and Georgie Tunney. Download for free from the ABC Listen app.
When history is made.
Over the boundary it goes, and New Zealand are the World Test champions.
ABC Sport is there.
Lamb away from one, gets it away to Wello Power. Now I've seen it. Now I've seen a six-bar. Josh Yellow powers it again.
Commercial free.
Bolton! Oh, wow. Off he goes! A hanger in the goal square.
ABC Sport. On radio, online, and on the ABC Listen app.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Siding has it again at left half back, looks to kick towards Madgen, got a crawl bounce. Waterman jumped in the middle, got it to Durham, kicks inside the 50. Devon Smith pushing forward, he can give it off to Stringer into the open goal square. Jake's going to put it through.
Crisp, he too wrapped up, and Pink holding the ball, trying to take on Heppel, and Heppel lays the tackle. And that's enough for the umpire to say that's holding the ball. Jack Crisp penalised. The Essendon captain Dyson Heppel lays it up. Top of the goal square, Peter Wright with the running start. And Wright puts the mitts up and marks overhead. 2 metre Peter has 3 already today. Arriving late, Wright crashes the pack, spills down, Ginnivan whacks it away, down to Durham, paddles it to the advantage of Francis, goes back by hand to Hyde, kicks deep to Wright. And Peter Wright's up with another strong contested grab. And now Peter Wright has 4 in the first half. Puts it up into the top tank.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Second last match of round 23 of the AFL season. Half-time, the Bombers leading by 34 points over the Magpies, 11-68 to the Pies, 5-4-34. The match in Adelaide just getting underway between the Adelaide Crows and North Melbourne, so we'll take you there at the completion of this match. Matt Clinch alongside Corbin Middlemass calling the action. Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard, your experts, with Mitch Cleary down on the boundary. As always, we'd love to hear from you on the SMS 0437 774 774. Fran in Melbourne, thanks for your correspondence throughout the season, and also thinking of all of us in commentary now that, of course, the finals will move away from Melbourne. Also credit to Chris Mayne, as she rightfully points out, been a wonderful servant for the Magpies, Bully, as he calls it a day. So came across from Freo, had a tough start to his career at Collingwood. There was high expectations on him, and played a really pivotal role defensively for Collingwood under Nathan Buckley when they got to their grand final.
He did, yeah. He sort of found a new role, didn't he, where he really excelled on the wing there in particular, and he was able to use his real strength, which was his athleticism and running power. It was what made him such a hard-working and reliable forward for the Dockers. And then, as you said, Clinchy, a key player in the Pies, push to almost all the way in 2018. So great career and a terrific bloke. I think you won't hear I missed him, but you won't hear a bad word about him from from anyone down at the club. He's been a real favourite down there in the locker room in particular, and they really miss guys like that. Yeah, they're not easy to replace. As much off the field as what they can do on the field, if anything. So I'd imagine that they'd be probably keen, or depending on what he does. I mean, Corby's a Perth boy, isn't he? So
I think he said he's keen to head back to Western Australia with the family.
For sure, yeah.
Get them back before schooling starts.
Yep, but you'd expect him to bob up in and around footy again. I think he's got a bit of a coaching bent as well, so you'd expect to see him.
He's also, I mean, people look at him as a bit of a journeyman, but his career reached some pretty good heights. I mean, he was in the All-Australian 40. Yep. He kicked a bunch of goals in Fremantle's successful years in 2012 and 2013. So,
he's a better player than that. I mean, if you play 250 odd, you're better than a journeyman. Yeah, that's right. So, congratulations to him, and hopefully he can just enjoy running around for one last half here on the MCG. And we've seen a fair bit of that over the weekend, haven't we? So you put him down for 15 or so positions. I reckon in this second half he'll just be running around enjoying himself.
Tim in Wodonga, it's wonderful to see Essendon delivering the ball into the hands of Wright and Waterman. 2 beautiful kicks for goal. No coincidence. The Dons are kicking straight. And Andy Rue from Rock Vegas, looking forward to hearing the Adelaide North Melbourne game. Opening goal the way of Jed Anderson. So the Rue's on the board first in the Adelaide clash there, which Bally was contemplating whether he should change his tip late.
It's tight, work tipping. It's come down to today. The Bombers are going to get it over the line for me, but I think it might have been a genuine toss of the coin. And I've gone for the home team. I've gone for the Crows.
Gone for the Crows.
It almost talked me out of it in the last 30 seconds before the bounce went there.
It is amazing, the last game of the regular season like this, where the game's scheduled, and obviously scheduled late, North Melbourne and Adelaide, has no bearing on it, and yet there's bragging rights with tipping competitions, fantasy footy coming down to the last game of the year, and all of a sudden some sort of seemingly meaningless game in the grand scheme of things. North can't go any lower on the premiership table. They've already got the wooden spoon, and yet there's a lot which still rests on those 4 quarters.
Yep, and David McKay's last game, isn't it? Tom and Lynch's last game for Adelaide, certainly, as Dave McKay just puts one down the throat of Ned McHenry right on cue. So, and, I mean, importantly, there's people there watching, so they want to do well. Obviously, they want to finish the year on a high, both teams.
So in the NRL today, round 23, the Sydney Roosters defeated St George Illawarra, 40 points to 22. And in the latter match, it's the Brisbane Broncos leading the Warriors 12 points to 4. That's half an hour gone in that contest. So Ned McHenry having his shot from goal here, looking to try and level things out, and misses out to the right. So we'll head there at the completion of this match. We're also going to provide you a finals preview right at the end of our broadcast. So we'll get the thoughts on the first week of the finals from Brendan Goddard and Luke Ball, given we start to know now really where the pieces fit. It'll just be where the games will take place. So looking forward to getting the thoughts of BJ and Bally as to what might happen next week.
Just on that, for Essendon fans, there is some talk about a Tasmanian final. The Bombers played for premiership points in Tasmania for the first time earlier this year against the Hawks. It was actually a really good game of footy. The Bombers won by 13 points in front of 14,000. They've never played in Hobart. Their record at the Gabba in recent times is poor. They've lost their past 4. We doubt it'll be at the Gabba. And at the Adelaide Oval, they're 5-5 in the ground's sort of short existence as an AFL venue, but have lost their past 2 games, albeit they were both against Port Adelaide by 50 plus. So there's just a little bit of background on Essendon at those venues.
We'll talk about more after the game. We think the Bulldogs, will they have any say in it whatsoever, finishing 5th versus 8th? Will they?
So
Will they give their preferred option, but ultimately the AFL collect the cheque for the final? So
if you sort of put your finger in the wind, it feels like 3 of the games are going to be played in Adelaide. So Adelaide have been...
How many in Tassie? That's the interesting part.
Well, this looks like they'll get the other one. So
1 or 2. There's differing reports that Tassie are keen to have a second, and interesting with the events over the last couple of weeks, with Tassie wanting their own AFL side. Second half about to get underway. The Bombers leading by 34 points. Here's Corbin Middlemass.
So a half a footy to come in the year for the Magpies, and what a disruptive one it's been. A crooked bounce to start the second half.
Just throw it up.
Bounce has gone everywhere today.
That's Rosebery too, who's probably the greatest umpire of all time. So I'm going to blame the centre circle.
Oh, the plate.
He chucks it up. Grundy got first hands on it. Elliott trying to get a kick forward, missed it. Stringer by hand to Shield, to Parrish. Hand pass back to Stringer. Releases the package. He kicks inside 50. Not a great kick. Francis mops it up. Heavy tackle from Howe coming over the back. Quite high on his back too to lay the tackle. Ball spits out to Noble. Hand pass a turnover. Half forward for the Bombers. Clark to Perkins. Perkins takes on the tackler. He's coughed it up. As Wilson away to Noble. He kicks down the boundary line. Just pitches. No, it doesn't. Wrong side of the paint. Out on the full. And I think Henry thought it was going to be a boundary throw-in. Free kick for the Bombers. Laverty to take it in front of the benches. Mitch Cleary.
Still feeling it, in grimacing, and when he leant down to pick up that ball, so I wouldn't be surprised if a sub's on the way.
Laverty long inside 50. Grundy couldn't take the mark, but De Goey gathers. Hand pass to Murphy. Back to De Goey. Too slick. Gets it around Smith. To De Goey over his head. Back to Murphy. They found a way out. Somehow Collingwood. It took a bit of work though, and Thomas marks on the defensive 50. Up to Dacos at true centre half back. Punt road end of the MCG. Looks to send Collingwood wide to the southern wing where Sidebottom takes the mark. Cameron offers a lead up the southern wing. Couldn't take the mark. Stewart right there with him. Getting back Durham for the Bombers. Hand pass to Snelling. Trying to cut through traffic. Back to a stationary Durham. Snelling now works all the way back to Shield by hand, and now to Stringer. Looks into the middle of the ground. Will kick to a one-on-one. Guelphy and Noble. Guelphy works it over the back and then races after it on the members' side. Got away from Noble too easily. Gives the hand pass to Heppel. Works it in the middle of the ground to a stationary Parrish. Now back to Snelling. To the run of Stringer. Gets on the end of it at right half forward. Sends it long towards Smith. One-on-one with Howe. Deb worked him beautifully back towards the goal mouth and then fronted up to mark on his chest. He's having some sort of afternoon, Dev Smith.
He's having a day out, isn't he?
Well, I had to be told he was Scotty Pippen, not MJ, but he's now getting a chance to possibly kick his second.
Yeah, even the floaters are falling into his lap, and it had to be a floater because he had Jeremy Howe for company, and he just read it better. And
not too often Jeremy Howe gets beaten in a one-on-one like that. Smith looking for his second. The Bombers first of the second half, and from 20 metres out, he puts it through. The Bombers have their 12th. They're 12-74 to the Pies. 5-4-34. Just took 2.5 minutes in this third term. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
The floodlights are on, guys. It was a perfect day still here in Melbourne. 21 degrees as it sits, but they've brought the floodlights on for this second half.
Well, Benju had a year with him, and he actually won the best and fairest in his first year, but I can't recall him playing too much better than this.
No, not in the role that he's playing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That year he obviously came in, he played a lot more midfield. He's probably a midfield/forward. Where now, I jumped to his defence. You made mention that he had a bit of a flat patch, but he's playing half forward, which is arguably the hardest spot to play consistently well on the ground. It's made it a lot easier when you're playing a really good team and the top 4 team. But his impact has been huge. His pressure is always high, is through the roof. Pressure, intensity around the contest. But yeah, today he's getting on the end of it. His involvements. But again, it's the work defensively that he's doing that's really noticeable.
Grundy straight down to Adams. Centre break for the Pies and hits up Ollie Henry, who marks overhead. And still just feeling for that collarbone after the earlier incident. He's grimacing as he goes back to take a set shot here.
Be a little AC joint, I reckon. They just nag you. They niggle, don't they? For the young guy. But he's been a shining light in the second half of the year for the Pies this year, no doubt.
So Henry from just outside 50. His set shot looks right off the boot. It stays there. And behind, 39 points Essendon's lead. 4 played third term.
There's been some clinical centre bounce work, isn't there, from both teams? We spoke about that at half-time, didn't we? Both teams like to be pretty aggressive in there.
Redmond bringing the Bombers back into play, looking for Wright. Maynard punched it forward through the hands of Dacos. De Goey trying to knock it on to Adams. Back through traffic to Noble, trying to link up with De Goey. 60 out from goal for Collingwood. Retreats back to Main and now to Crisp. His kick is smothered. Still a chance for the Pies. Crisp goes again, trying to get it to Sidebottom. Parrish gathers though. His hand pass. They can't gather any further as Dacos lays the tackle on Guelphy. Quick kick out of the congestion, only as far as Grundy for Collingwood. He hurries the kick inside 50 and straight to the chest of Ridley, who marks for the Bombers 40 metres out from his defensive goal. The city end, short to Redmond and then kicks out to Laverty, who marks at left half back for the Dons.
So Heppel along the boundary line, right the target. Howe upstairs, whacks it back in the other direction for Collingwood. Roughhead jumps on top of it. He's tackled by Shield. Somehow releases it to Adams and then to Noble, and Noble's locked up straight away. So we'll have a ball up on the wing. Dons by 39 points, not a heap at stake here. A half a footy for Essendon to tune up before the final series, back there for the first time in a couple of years, having missed in 2020. From the stoppage, Guelphy's kick smothered. DeGoey races away with it, kicks it to Elliott, coming out to meet it from the goal square, bounces off his own teammate. Ball spills to Dacos, who shoots goalward from centre half forward but misses. Slams it into the post and behind for Dacos. We could have a couple at Collingwood next year. 5-6, Essendon 12-2. 6 played third term.
Redmond into Laverty, short to Hine. Of course, Collingwood gave away their first round pick next year to GWS, so they might finish in the bottom two and not get much for it. As the Bombers try and work their way out of defence, Laverty now takes it in the right back pocket, works it up to Stringer on the defensive 50. Goes for a dash around Murphy. Works the kick up to Snelling, who wants to play on. Got around Crisp and gives the hand pass back to Stringer. Kicks up to half forward. Perkins on his own. Takes the mark. He's got Francis on his own against the boundary on 50. Ignores that. Perkins will keep the opening goal of the match. Now decides to drive Essendon long into attack. Big fly from Guelphy at the back. Got all the way to the back of the pack when Noble was waiting for it. Kicks with Hope out to half back, hoping Henry can run onto it. Redmond got there first but couldn't gather the footy. Thomas cleans it up for Collingwood. Hand pass to Hoskin Elliott and now to Sidebottom, who takes a bounce at right half back.
He's off and running. Sidebottom kicks short, trying to get it to Elliott. Elliott left it behind. He thought the ball was going out. It never did. Stewart recovers it. Hand pass to Hind, and he retreats with the kick to Ridley. Ridley goes all the way back to Heppel. Switch on for Essendon. The ground looking fairly big as he goes to Laverty. Laverty back to Heppel, missed him. Invites Elliott in. Elliott steps around Heppel. The turnover from Laverty, costly. The kick from Elliott's a goal. Puts it through, and they punish Essendon on the turnover. Collingwood move to 6-6-42. Essendon 12-2-74. Back to 32 points Essendon's way. A second for Jamie Elliott. 8 played third term.
There's some incredible decisions being made, or lack of decisions. Good decisions anyway. So, what do you say that? It's just a complete turnover, complete miss kick. Dyson Heppel literally standing in 5-10 metres of space. Just a simple little 20-metre kick back inside the corridor. They had the outnumber with Dylan Shield actually came up, so there's a 3v2. They just need to work it through, hit that kick, and then use the hands to get through the congestion. That hitting Dyson Heppel there would have opened up the game too, because it was the back of their centre half back, so it would have opened up the game. So just complete miss kick, put it over his head, but it just doesn't. So like they're just vulnerable to this kind of stuff, Essendon. Yep. That's why I just think I said a couple of weeks ago, Corbs, I think you were in the conversation, just that they're not quite finals ready, just the profile and the brand of footy they're playing, and I think today reflects that. Grundy
wins down the tap to DeGoey. Collingwood gets the clearance, kicks into the left forward pocket, looking for Elliott, one-on-one with Ridley. He can't keep it alive as it goes out of play.
Because in finals, Luke, you know that you can't fluke it. You can't. There's no switch as such. There's no theory behind that. So it's all about habits and what you've been doing consistently throughout the year that come out in finals.
Toss back into play. Collingwood deep in attack. Grundy one down the tap. Hine couldn't take it. Chance for Thomas. Had it slapped out of his hands. Snelling trying to get a clearance for the Dons. Thomas goes in. Tackle by Durham. The tackle was high. Josh Thomas will get a chance to shoot on goal for a second. He'll kick from slightly left of centre, about 40 metres out.
We talk a lot about the psychology of sport. This would be a battle, wouldn't it, as a half of footy for both games. I mean, it's Collingwood's last half of the year, but also for Essendon. They're a quarter and a half away from playing in a final series.
Yeah, certainly for Essendon. Yeah. It's the stuff he can control, isn't it? So that Laverty mistake, I mean, he knows he's not a one-step kick. That's not his go. So you got to be practicing those good habits. A bit of a sloppy tackle there. You won't get away with that next week. So you're right, Corb. It is a battle. It's a challenge for the coaching staff.
Josh Thomas shoots on goal. I think it's been touched on the goal line. They're just going to...
No, it's touched off
the boot.
Off the boot, yeah.
So what are we waiting for?
So surely the field umpire called it touched off the boot.
He did.
And then the goal
Josh
umpire...
Thomas threw his head back. I don't know why we're stopping here, but...
I wouldn't consider this... This shouldn't be something that's part of the score review. If the field umpire makes the decision on that call, How far back do we trace it? Do we trace something back to the wing to see if that kick was touched?
We don't review too many decisions of the field umpire, although there was an interesting one against Brayshaw last night, which might have been a good review.
But this is something that's happened 50 metres out from goal, so it's not a score review in the sense that we're evaluating what's happening with the posts or on the goal line.
So it's going to be a behind, and it'll be a 31-point lead the Bombers' way. I was interested listening to the coverage last night from Geelong. Brendan Goddard said he had a look in the record and would often know the names of the umpires before the game. Was that custom for you, Bally?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yep. No
well,
doubt.
I wouldn't know them. That's why I would look in. No, but you had to look who was umpiring each week.
What about Brent Delidio's admission?
Yeah.
Delidio said they had printouts of the
big printouts of the pictures and names.
Yep. Stuck them up on the wall.
You talk about psychology. If someone knows your name, when they come and say g'day, and you look them in the eye and say g'day,
Brett.
I knew Brett.
You're getting off to a good start. It's a small thing.
It's also handy when you're looking for votes as well. Yeah. Brownlow calculation.
Of course, the umpire's call was a behind, touched off the boot. So after the delay, Ridley long out to the wing. Picked up by Henry. Hand pass went straight to Guelphy. Hand pass back to Henry, the 235s. Henry bowled over. Heppel had it, lost it. Now a pack forms on the wing. 10 in from the boundary line, and the ump says, I'll have it. As Mitch said, shadows lengthening. It's been a glorious day in Melbourne. The floodlights on, the yellow Sharon chucked up in the air. Grundy arriving late to do the ruck work. Wins it down. Dacos squeezes a kick to half forward. Thomas runs onto it at speed. Kicks for Elliott. Can't complete the mark. Under pressure. Elliott against the boundary line. Goes back, collects the footy. Straightens up. Hoskin Elliott in the pack. No mark. And claiming it is Stewart. A juggled attempt. The umpire says he's happy with that. And James Stewart in the defensive arc for Essendon.
Looks out to half-back, tries to send in the direction of Perkins, who couldn't take the mark, but was first back onto it, and runs the southern wing. Takes a bounce as he kicks up to Waterman at right half-forward. He's got Guelphy working inside the 50. The kick hangs up, though, and won't get to him. Crisp in front, dropped the mark. Guelphy pounces onto it, kicks towards the goal mouth, and it bounces end over end up against the right behind post. A boundary throw, which is not probably the worst result for Essendon. They lead by 31 points. Meanwhile, at the Adelaide Oval, it's the Crows 2-3-15, leading North Melbourne 2 straight 12. 20 minutes gone, opening term there. We'll take you there at the completion of this game. Chance here for Parrish, working from the boundary throw, and his shot on goal misses to the right. And a minor score.
Just his fourth kick for the day. It looks like young Jay Rentell's been sent to Darcy Parish for the second half. Rob Harvey said, righto, he's one of the best 5 mids in the comp this year. Go and run around with him and see how it's done, which I think's good.
He was drafted last year, Jay. Made his debut, by the way, on Anzac Day earlier this year. So he's off contract after his initial 2 years. And he's got a kick here as he goes wide to Roughhead. Marks against the boundary line at half-back. Mitch Cleary.
Essendon ruckman Sam Draper having his thumb looked at. It's already heavily strapped coming into the game. 2 physios taking a look at it, just doing some strength testing at the moment. It is a watch for this second half.
Thanks, Mitch. Umpires work it up to the wing, but Redmond chops it off. Hand pass away to Merritt. Gives it to McGrath. Sprays his kick, going back in the defensive 50. Unkind bounce for Laverty. Closed down by Henry. Laverty mops it up. Hand pass away to Stringer. Back flank. They're queuing up on the wing. Spears the kick out to Guelphy. He takes the mark. It was Dylan Clark for a moment. Guelphy just backward of the logo. And the number 35 for Essendon goes short to Durham. Marks between wing and half forward. Kicks inboard to Merritt. High possession game for the Bombers. Goes back by hand to Guelph. He looks inside 50. Waterman. Hand pass to centre half forward. Went through the legs of Clark. Collingwood back onto it. Bianco retreats with the handball.
Out to Dacos, but he's got no one really at half-back. Fires the ball low into the path of Ridley, who gathers in front of Hoskin Elliott. Has support through Clark. Feeds it around the boundary line to Heppel. Snaps inside the 50. Awkward ball for Dev Smith, and he might have hurt his fingers in the process. Cameron receives it from Magin, who worked it inside the back pocket. Up to Taylor Adams. His kick is wide of Henry. Cutler's over the footy. He's tackled by Ginnivan. And the ball won't spill clear as Taylor Adams falls right in the back of Cutler. Looked at the umpire, mindful not to give away the free kick, and the umpire will throw it up just slightly Collingwood's way in the middle of the MCG. Next to the 2 centre circles. Grundy one down the tap. Got it to Adams. Snaps around his body towards Cameron at half forward. Ricochets off his shins. Grundy, good clean pick up. got it to Thomas and now to Bianco, trying to kick through traffic, bounced off the back of Merritt, came back to Cameron, high kick towards Peter Wright. Almost juggled the mark, couldn't hang on to it. The Bombers have the numbers though. Stewart gathers, hand pass to Ridley who kicks out to Heppel, who takes out the left half back with the Bombers by 32.
Low stress exit out of the regular season for Essendon as Heppel goes short to McGrath, so low stakes here for the Bombers after St Kilda beat Fremantle earlier. The Dons are playing finals. Pretty low pressure, low tackle count kind of game so far as Smith to Shield. Hand pass to Merritt, kicks to a one-on-one. Howe spoils it away from Wright. Down to Dacos, defensive side of the wing, Collingwood. Round tall, away to Howe. Threads the hand pass through to Main. He gave it to Cameron under pressure. The Bombers with numbers. Handball not good from Merritt. Left Shield with a bit to do. Collects. Hand pass out to Heppel. This is still all between wing and half forward. Hand pass to Redmond. Unorthodox off the left boot. Kicks to the hot spot. Crisp climbs. Wins the tap. Down towards Main, who spun around in the tackle from Waterman. And the tackler's going to be rewarded. And Alec Waterman will get a shot at goal here. Straight in front, 30 out.
Geez, Essendon just finding a way just to stuff it up, aren't they?
It's a bit stiff there to Chris Main too. Good tackle, but he got his foot to it.
Got a boot on it, but they just it feels like
call it off, Beach.
Yeah,
call it off.
The pressure wasn't. Oh, the pressure's not elite from Collingwood. They're just doing enough, but it feels just like Essendon is overusing the ball, being a bit too cute.
Yep.
They're not willing just to go back and take that long kick inside 50 to an isolation or a 1v1. They're looking for that perfect play, overplaying it for mine.
Waterman hammers through the drop punt. That's his third. So Waterman converts Essendon to 14-387. Collingwood 6-7-43. 17 played in the third term. Dons by 38 points. Waterman turning 25 during the week. Kicked 2 last week against the Suns. He's now up to 16 goals in his 13 games.
Yeah, he's doing his job. He's putting his hand up to play next week, which is all he can do. He looks like the sort of player, Beach, that won't be overawed in the final. You know, big body, mature age player, we know. So you can pick him with confidence that he's going to give you have a crack, and even that was a good effort, you know, in a game that's really opened up, and his circle work to an extent to be able to commit to that tackle and that forward pressure to give himself an opportunity. Well done. But yeah, there's the danger is some bad habits creeping in here.
Loop ball with you on ABC Sport. Cameron and Wright in the middle of the ground. Tap came down to Stringer. Couldn't break clear as Taylor Adams and Degoe quickly onto him to lay the tackle. Tossed up in the air. Cameron this time tries to palm it down to his own advantage. Squeeze the kick forward to Bianco, who marks inside the centre circles. Kicks out to the members' wing towards Noble. He gathers and then looks towards Degoe at right half forward. He takes the mark 60 metres out from goal. Had a few options in the corridor. Instead goes for Elliott. Backpedaling, he takes the mark against McGrath. In the right forward pocket, he'll kick from about 40 metres out.
Good from Elliott. Elliott's now playing, which he spent more time in the midfield too, and you said he's strung together maybe about 8 weeks now, but was injured through that middle part of the year, but was playing more consistently through the midfield, adding a different mix. Good power athlete.
Yep.
So adds a different mix than what they had in there, and his ability then, as we know, to go forward and impact the scoreboard's been great. But he's got on the end of this as a midfielder.
Plays such a key role in Collingwood's attacking 50. Jamie Elliott, that's a nice kick from the right forward pocket. Never looked like missing as he steers it through for his third. And Collingwood closed the gap to 32 after the Bombers kicked the first of the third term, got out by 40. Collingwood have kicked 2 of the last 3 to get it back to 32. 13-381 the Bombers to Collingwood 7-7-49. 19 minutes gone third term. Meanwhile in Adelaide, it's the Crows 3-5-23 leading North Melbourne 2-1-13. Approaching quarter time there.
Yeah, he's certainly got the ability, you're right, Beach, to work through the middle, get involved in the centre bounce. He's a burst player, as you said.
We'll see that, or will we see more of that because of the emergence from some of these younger, smaller forwards in Bianco and Ginnivan, a couple of these other guys as they get experience and able, because once he goes in there, they haven't been able to really fill that void that he leaves as a forward, have they?
Yeah, well, I mean, you look down now and it's him and Degoe in there, so I think that's a bit of a sign of things to come. I think they've both got really strong capability in the middle of the ground, as you said, to burst and hit the scoreboard as well.
32 points, Essendon's lead. They get the break here. Shield, hand pass to Guelphy. Nice kick. From one side of the centre square to the other, out the right half forward, and Snelling takes the mark. He's not happy with the distance. He's going to have to kick it just outside 50. Looks inside, back to Guelphy, up strong and marking. And Matt Guelphy will shoot in the corridor from 35 out.
I don't think Haas would be too happy with that. They did a really good job, that initial kick from Guelphy to Snelling, and they held them up. There's a slow play. Collingwood players got back. Their midfielders got back, filled those gaps. And it turned out to be a really slow play where the umpires almost called him to play on because he took so long, and they're then able to find Guelphy back inside 50, 35 out, practically straight in front.
So let's see what he's got here on the set shot. 4 times the sub this year, and the starting 22 at the right time. He's missing. Big build-up. Clip the post. Minor score. The Dons are 13-4, Collingwood 7-7, 33-point lead for Essendon. Time on third term.
Mitch Cleary on the boundary. Collingwood have made their sub.
Yeah, finally pulled it clinchy. Ollie Henry out with that right shoulder. Ice applied. He's in the tracksuit. Bo McCreary into the game.
Noble kicks into the middle of the ground to go. He tried to swat it forward to Elliott, who made contact with his leg, getting Guelphy, trying to block his path. It was a tripping free, really, but
he's tough, this bloke. But
it was more contact to the thigh than it was to the bottom of the leg.
Yeah, he's hurt him.
So Ridley receives the kick from Guelphy, who's still moving a bit gingerly. Short to Redmond, then not 15 to Smith. He's got enough time to backpedal away from Murphy and then kick it all the way back to left half back. Laverty takes the mark. Bombers leading by 33 points, and we're going to get a 50 against Hoskin Elliott.
Yeah, just ran over the mark. The umpire was right there trying to set it, and he ran about 3 steps over the mark, so not much in it, but costly. Just give up ground, doesn't it?
So Laverty taken to the middle of the MCG, goes short, wide to the wing. Ridley has it, shorter still to Hine. He still has it between wing and half forward for the Bombers, attacking the punt road end in this third term. Call to play on, so Veers out to the right. Will send it long in the direction of Peter Wright. He's got about 3 to compete against. Waterman flew as well. At the back, Main with a hand pass to Howe. He's kicked to half back. Redmond gathers for the Bombers. Hand pass to Laverty. Feeds the hand pass to a stationary Merritt. Looks out to the left forward pocket. Dev Smith's been the target. It's wide of him. Bounces on the paint of 50 and across the boundary line for a throw in.
And Zach Merritt just saying sorry there. He's had a fair bit of the footy, 21 possessions. Although 14 handballs, just hasn't used it quite as well as he would today. He had a 57% kicking efficiency, so sets pretty high standards to Zach.
Bombers by 33. The ruckman wrestle. Draper tried to do the work with his boot. He's going to get a free anyway. Big Sammy Draper. He's had his thumb strapped up, as Mitch told us earlier. He's going to take the free here. 60 out left half forward. Crowded forward 52. So in the end, Draper's just going to lay it up to the hot spot. 15 out from goal, right down there. Spoil comes at the back. Snelling passing through, went without it. Madgen collects for the Pies. To Bianco, releases a hand pass to Noble, runs into trouble, gives it to Adams. Likewise, tackled straight away by Waterman. Ball spills out of play and a throw in half forward here for the Dons. 50 out. Mitch Cleary, Collingwood's list decisions at the end of the year. Obviously, they've got problems or decision to make on the coach. But what about the playing unit?
Mason Cox is the biggest of those, Corbin. Without a contract for next year, has to wait until the new coach is appointed to learn his fate. 4 players out there today also playing for a new contract.
Thank you, Mitch. Parrish gathers in the right forward pocket. Hand pass to Smith. Kicks towards Peter Wright. Couldn't take the mark. Had a metre or so on Howe before he closed late. And Crisp is locked up at the top of the defensive goal square.
Geez, missed opportunity there for Big Peter. That was as good as he was going to get today. It just went through his hands.
Thrown up. He'll do the ruck work here against Cameron. Got it down to Snelling. Almost found a path forward. Was tackled by Howe and is holding the ball. So Collingwood will take it on the last line at the punt road end. Taylor Adams was involved in the tackle. He's won the free kick. As he looks for options, will decide to come to the members' side. Short to the pocket. And Cameron marks on his chest. Can work it over the top to Crisp. So Collingwood trying to find an avenue out of defence, and short to De Goey, all short passing, and now playing on through De Goey. Looks up to the members wing. Grundy was working back to half forward, bounces in front of him. Stewart was in front for the Bombers. Hand pass to Hine, kicks into the middle of the ground, and Cutler takes the mark.
Cutler plays on. They're going to try down the southern side. Stringer drifting forward. Stringer takes the mark, turns, plays on. 70 out, kicks to Smith, and Smith takes the mark against the boundary line, right forward pocket for the Dons.
Stringer to Smith.
It's happening a bit, isn't it? The two powers just working together. But it was good ball movement here from this wing, or close wing side to us, and then get it to the open side. And Geelong have actually done a pretty good job just to actually force Essendon really wide in this pocket. It's a tough shot that Dev has, but it was really good ball movement from Essendon. It was almost textbook kind of training ball movement.
Dev Smith snapping with his left boot across the goal face. He misses across the face and a minor score. Essendon by 34. Just took a practice swing too, Beach, like he was on the tee before he eventually took that kick.
He's got the golf bug.
Essendon by 34, 25 played in the third.
Quarter time in the city of Churches. Adelaide leading North Melbourne by 17 points. I'll take you there after this match. Collingwood looking to find an avenue out of defence. Side bottom goes wide. Madgen marks at left half back. Up to Bianco on the southern wing. His kick is over the head of the sub. McCreary into the action with Henry out. Hand pass came Shields' way from Redmond. Good pressure from McCreary, almost forced a turnover. Redmond got it back to Shield and now to Merritt. Works it to Andy McGrath, hard against the boundary. The low pass, looking for Dev Smith. Great pickup. Hand pass intercepted though by Wilson at Collingwood. Looks to kick towards the 50. Elliott charging out. Merritt almost juggled the mark. Got one in the back if he wasn't paid the mark. And he'll take it at right half back for the Dons, who lead by 34.
Mitch just alluded to those four Collingwood players out there off contract. So Ginnivan, Thomas, Madgen and Rantoul are the four off contract for Collingwood on the field.
Young Bianco's certainly shown a lot this year after coming back from a pretty serious injury. Just going to have to clean up his disposal. That's the one thing over the off-season, which I'm sure, I hope he'll do a lot of work on.
Bombers short kicking game in the defensive 50. Cutler with it, goes wide to Stewart. Marks against the boundary line, left half back. So Henry subbed out of the game. Looks like an AC joint injury. Was actually felled in an incident behind the ball. So a bit to look at there, both sides of things. One for the Essendon defence and one also for, obviously, the injury for Henry. Hopefully it's not too serious in the last game of the year. Kick down the wing, spills to Rantoul. He's tackled almost immediately and dispossessed, and he upsets holding the ball. So free kick going Essendon's way. Durham to take it. Plays on by hand to Cutler. Long 60-metre drop punt inside 50. Right edged underneath it. Madgen takes the intercept mark for Collingwood at half-back.
Goes all the way back to Bianco on the last line. Trying to work hard from the wing. Short to DeGoey. 35 metres out from his defensive goal. Straight up the middle to side bottom. Thought about the hand pass to Rantoul. He avoided that in the end. As he now looks towards half forward, he'll go spiral. It might work. It's just over the head of Jamie Elliott. Ridley trying to swat it down to Durham. Under pressure from Thomas. Thomas with a hand pass to Dacos. Standing start from 45. It's online. It bounces out to the right. And in the end, through for a minor score. The Bombers lead is 33 points at the 28-minute mark of the third term.
Peach and I were at Cardinia Park last night, and we were saying at three-quarter time was all over and margin was around the same spread at 33 here at three-quarter time. Stakes significantly lower. It's not for the minor premiership.
That's nothing. I said it was over when Hawthorn got up by 30 points and Richmond kicked the last 5 goals of the match. So we've seen it a couple of times this weekend.
It is three-quarter time here at the MCG. Not quite as tense for Essendon fans as they may have anticipated coming in this afternoon. St Kilda beating Fremantle, so the Bombers will feature in the finals. And they've got a 33-point advantage over Collingwood anyway in their final home and away game of the season. The goal kickers to three-quarter time. Peter Wright has 4, 3 for Alec Waterman, 2 for Dev Smith, 1 each to Perkins, Stringer, Redmond and Snelling. While for Collingwood, Jamie Elliott has 3. He kicked 2 of them in that third quarter, 1 each to DeGoey, Dacos, Cameron and Thomas. So the Pies won the quarter, Clinchy by 1, Dons by 33.
Earlier today, of course, St Kilda provided an upset, defeating Fremantle by 58 points, 17-5, 107 to the Dockers, 6-13, 49. Sharman with 4 goals for the Saints, Tim Membry with 3. Jack Steele got the 3 votes for his 35 disposals in the ABC Footballer of the Year. And quarter time at the Adelaide Oval, and it's the Crows leading by 17 points over North Melbourne. So Adelaide 4-6-30 to North Melbourne 2-1-13 with McAdam with a couple of goals.
Do you hold your nerve, Paulie, with your tip and stayed on the Crows in the end?
Yeah, well, I'm happy at the moment, aren't I? Well, they did this last week here, didn't they? They started pretty well and faded out, so I'm just still holding my breath a bit.
And as always, you can get in touch with us, 0437 774 774, as Grant in Hobart has done We'll be travelling to Hobart next week to call the match. We'll be doing so from Melbourne. I don't think we can go anywhere, unfortunately, Grant, at the moment, so more likely than not, we might have to call that one remotely. His smoky for the flag is Sydney. Go the Blues in 2020. Yeah, we'll get a bit of forward planning once this match has completed, and wasn't that a sad sight with the end of the Carlton match, and Eddie Betts almost in tears at the end of the game. Here at the MCG, the Bombers leading by 33 points at three-quarter time on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
On Hard Quiz, only the most important facets of human knowledge are put to the test.
Which US rapper's name sounds like a brand of colourful chocolate?
Topics chosen are critical to the evolution of the human race.
The palindrome rotator is what word spelled backwards?
And experts are treated with the utmost respect.
Well, I'm afraid your parachute hasn't opened this time. You are plummeting to Earth.
Catch Tom Gleeson with all new episodes of Hard Quiz. Back Wednesday, August 18 on ABC TV and streaming on iView.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Harris now back to Snelling to the run of Stringer. Gets on the end of it at right half forward. Sends it long towards Smith. One-on-one with Howe. Deb worked him beautifully back towards the goal mouth and then fronted up to Mark on his chest. Smith looking for his second. The Bombers first of the second half, and from 20 metres out, he puts it through.
To Laverty. Laverty back to Heppel. Missed him. Invites Elliott in. Elliott steps around Heppel. The turnover from Laverty, costly. The kick from Elliott to goal. Redmond, unorthodox off the left boot. Kicks to the hot spot. Crisp climbs. Wins the tap. Down towards Main, who spun around in the tackle from Waterman. And the tackler's going to be rewarded. And Alec Waterman will get a shot at goal here. Waterman hammers through the drop punt. That's his third.
Noble. He gathers and then looks towards De Goey at right half forward. He takes the mark 60 metres out from goal. Had a few options in the corridor. Instead goes for Elliott. Backpedaling, he takes the mark against McGrath. Jamie Elliott, that's a nice kick from the right forward pocket. Never looked like missing.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Sounds of the third quarter as it took place on ABC Sport. Collingwood with 2 goals, 4 in that third term to the Bombers 2-3. But it's Essendon leading by 33 points at three-quarter time, 13-5-83 to the Pies 7-8-50. The Bombers, a date with the Western Bulldogs looms for the first week of the finals for Collingwood. Well, it's exit interviews probably on Monday, which does loom the question as to, with Robert Harvey departing, they had a footy at the moment, or Graham Wright might be running everything as they try and work out which players.
He's the head of footy.
He's the head of footy, is he?
Wright's the head of footy, yeah.
Head of list management is a job they're looking for, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think Troy Selwood came across, didn't he? But he's on leave, so yeah.
Have you got a timeline, Bawley? I mean, we won't interrogate you too much, but is there a timeline as to when the next coach will be?
I don't think it's set in stone. I think obviously a bit will play out after this weekend. I think that's without sort of naming names. I think that'd be fair to say that things will start to really sort of motor coming out of now that a lot of teams' seasons are finished. So, but yeah, it's the process is progressing towards decision time. There's no doubt about that.
Are you done with all your interviews?
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. Again, that will be decided coming out of this weekend, depending on some potential candidates what they want to do.
Who would you have coaches, Collingwood, BJ, giving you chuckling away?
Oh, it's just potential candidates. It's whether Clarko agrees to sit down and have a chat is what it pretty much meant. What was the question? Sorry,
who would you have at the top of your candidates?
I think it's obvious. The wish list, all things being equal, and do whatever you want. It's Clarko, for sure. Why wouldn't you? You're stupid not to. And then work your way down. You could... Depends, again, Luke knows the ins and out, whether it's experienced coach or whether it's untried coach, where they set their list, who they want to take forward with their list. So, but Clarko and I think Ross would have to be somewhere near the top of it in terms of experienced coaches.
So into the final term we go. Another false start to get things underway as the ball's tossed in the air. Essendon leading by 33 points. Collingwood free kick. Adams was pushed in the back in the middle of the ground. To go, he takes the advantage. Hand pass to Noble. Kicks up towards half forward and Redmond takes the intercepting mark for Collingwood. Mason Redmond looks wide to the southern wing. Noble coming in, sported away from Heppel. A chance still for the Bombers as Cutler gathers back to Heppel. Hand pass almost intercepted for Collingwood through Maynard. And Dyson has a third go. He's tackled and brought down, and the umpire will throw it up under the Great Southern Stand.
I reckon it's a tough quarter of footy to watch for Ben Rutten, isn't it? There's little stuff like that would annoy you, just flicking the ball around a bit too much, being a bit too cute. And then obviously the heart would be in the mouth in terms of hoping everyone gets through unscathed.
Pies work it forward. Adams away to Ginnivan, who kicks inside 50 but turns it over.
A good Cutler. I think he plays next week, no doubt about it.
Cutler goes wide to Heppel. I mentioned Cutler earlier. Started the first 3 games as the Medi sub. 4 times during the year he's been the sub in his 12 games. Coming over from Brisbane at the start of last year. It might have actually been 2 years ago now. Long kick down the line, and there's a ball up here on the southern wing. We'll have a ball up just inside the boundary line.
Yeah, second year of the Bombers, played 8 games last season.
I was right the first time, Quincy.
You were. Don't dare yourself. Back yourself in. Draper wins down the tap, trying to get it to Shields. Stringer trying to break out of a tackle from Noble. Gets it back to Durham through traffic. Hand pass to Parrish. Looks to kick inside the 50. Francis sets himself. Howe spoils it away. Waterman races after it. Overran the footy. Came off his back heel. Back into his path. Gathers. Hand pass down too low for Merritt. He races back onto it. Just at the top of the 50. He almost returned it back to Waterman. He was taken high by McGrath after he got rid of it. So I think it's going to be a downfield free kick. Alex Waterman with a chance to kick his fourth. 1 in each quarter if he can kick truly here.
They're still managing just to overuse the footy a little bit again. Waterman just could have got that to the top of the square where 2 metre Peter had a 1v1, but got a little bit lucky. That almost was a Courtney Dempsey heel off the back of the heel, kind of back over his head, trying to manoeuvre there from Waterman just to keep the ball in front of him. But
I'm not sure you can give him that credit for that. I think that was incidental, just happened or work out. Waterman, of course, the son of West Coast legend Chris, shooting out to the right. A chance for his fourth. That's a good finish. Trying to cement his spot in the Bombers' best 22. And he's done himself no harm this afternoon. With no Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody, no Cale Hookup. He and Peter Wright have led the charge alongside Dev Smith for the Bombers this afternoon. Back out to a 39-point advantage with the first goal of the final term. It's Essendon 14-5-89, leading Collingwood 7-8-50. 3 minutes gone, final term.
It was initially a good inside 50 kick from Darcy Parish, who hasn't found too much space. You may have mentioned that matchup. Young Rantoul going for him. He hasn't started on him each quarter. He's come off the bench each time Rantoul and gone to him. So just a little bit fresher when he does go to him, but hardly sided. He's touched the footy a little bit there, Darce, but impact has been low because the blanketing from Rantoul, but it was a good kick inside 50, good contest from Aaron Francis, who had that one-on-one, beat Jeremy Howe, and then Waterman, again, kind of overused it, and then managed to get on the end of it through a free kick.
So 39 points the margin. Off the square comes McGrath, who's been starting on the wing, and he's tackled heavily, taken to ground by DeGoey. He's not overly happy about it either after the heavy tackle. Final quarter of the last game of the regular season, a bit of push and shove. As they get back up, a ball up again. Wilson on the outskirts of the stoppage there for Collingwood. Links up with Adams. By hand to Main, now to DeGoey. Still at centre-half back for Collingwood. Kicks wide and Murphy marks. Defensive side of the wing. Looks in front of the interchange. Bianco takes the mark on his chest for Collingwood. Dons by 39.
Bianco works it inboard. Rantoul takes the mark. Thought about giving the hand pass back to Bianco. Now Rantoul will go back and kick over his mark. Collingwood trailing by 39 points with the number 1 on his back, sends it inside the 50. Cameron with a couple to compete against. Laverty brought it down. Front and centre, Murphy kicks towards the corridor. Ginnivan's tackled. Can't get a hand pass away as Redmond dumped him into the turf in the eyes of the umpire. Jack Ginnivan with a chance to try and kick his first goal of the afternoon. What do you think? Was the
Let's have a look.
Slinging tackle the right call?
Yeah, he's got a
little
he's
dump there
starting
at the
to get
end.
into form, Mace Redmond. He's an aggressive, strong player, but he had the one arm pinged and he was just a bit. I mean, I think he's okay in terms of just the free kicks, the right decision, but I think the Bombers players are a bit miffed because of the McGrath. Or was on the receiving end of what looked like a sling tackle in the middle of the ground, but that was there, I think.
Had a sider earlier. Jack Ginnivan comes in and this time pushes it to the left. So a couple of behinds next to his name. And the Bombers lead by 38 points, 5 minutes in to the final term at the Adelaide Oval. It's the Crows 5-8-38. to North Melbourne. 2-1-13, 15 minutes gone in the second term there.
He's one of the youngest players in the league this year, Ginnivan, a December 02 baby. If that makes you feel a little old. So, big 13 in the rookie draft.
BJ just been drafted number 1, December 02.
You know what that means? By the time we're here round 1 next year, we're going to have 03 babies in the league as a long kick from right goes down the boundary line and Smith's taken out of play. We'll have a throw in just forward of the wing for Essendon.
I think just on those tackles in particular, Redmond obviously got cited a couple of weeks ago for somewhat of a sling tackle, but I think it's just an attempt by players to bring the player to ground. I think they just got to get that out of their games, that mentality, because it was an old mentality, wasn't it, Bally, about if you got a chance, take the player to ground, because his effectiveness of getting rid of the footy is diminished. So it's just their attempt is keep your feet, keep the player or your opponent in mind and his safety in mind, and get that out of your game. But for most players, need to get out of their game, just the mentality around it.
A bit of aerial ping-pong from one arc to the other, and now Essendon win it back. The long kick wide from Cutler out to Francis, who marks southern wing, goes long into the pocket. Stringer marks just inside the boundary line. That'll count. As soon as he took the mark, he looked straight back at the boundary umpire. I think he was even doubtful whether he was going to be paid the kick. And now he'll be able to have a shot really pressed up against the fence, left half forward.
Big week for him, Surrey Corp won it. Big week next week for him.
Oh, yeah.
Bulldogs premiership player, of course. He's played against his old team plenty of times, but probably not in the final, so he'll want to do really well. He's had a great year.
Number 1 rated player by Champion Data since round 14 in the league as he kicks across the goal face. Perkins went up uncontested, spills the mark. And now Pink holding the ball as he sits on top of it. Umpire says, I'm not chucking that up again. That's a free kick. It's going Dacos' way next to the behind post. Bombers by 38 points, 7 played in the last.
Dacos short to side bottom. What sort of guy is he, BJ Jake? Would he be nervous ahead of playing his old side, or would he relish it?
I think deep down he'd be nervous, but he wouldn't admit it. But he
front will be relish, won't it?
Yeah, it'd definitely be relish. But he's not an overthinker, which is can be a really positive thing in football.
To Goey to Crisp, up to the wing. Ginnivan takes the mark, turns and kicks inboard to side bottom. Collingwood have it, centre of the southern wing. He's trying to play on around Snelling, looking for options at half forward, the best of which is Rantle. Takes the mark and then plays on, feeds the hand pass, back to Ginnivan, kicks inside 50, missed Thomas. And a chance for Hine to clear for the Bombers. Turns onto his right-hand side, spots Peter Wright, all on his own at right half-back. He takes the mark. No one on the mark, so Dawdle's forward, takes a bounce, off a step, pokes it over the top. Guelphy got crunched by Maynard over the shoulder as Collingwood are about to take it back.
He's copped a couple, Matt Guelphy. Wouldn't have it any other way. He's tough as nails. Again, the sort of player. There's nothing flash about him, but he won't be overawed by a final next week.
Parrish, 2 kicks and 4 hand passes in the second half, with Jay Rantoul going to him after half time. A long kick down the line, and the pack forms half forward here for the Bombers. Mitch on the boundary.
Boy, you spoke about Matt Guelphy. He's just got a heavy cork on his right quad, heavily strapped up. He's going to be one to watch later in this second half. Last quarter. Second half of the last quarter, I should say.
Yeah, I'll pay that.
I know what you meant.
Essendon by 38. Pies quickly from the stoppage. Hoskin Elliott takes the mark, gives it to Thomas. Kicks to centre half forward. Here's Jamie Elliott. Few streaming forward. Ginnivan out wide. Takes the mark. He's right on the 50-metre arc. He's been given a bit of generous room from Ridley as well, who stood the mark a few metres back from that. Ginnivan, superb drop punt, hits up Hoskin Elliott, who marks right half or right forward pocket, slight angle.
That's a really good...
He's going to play on by hand. Over the top to Elliott, goal square, bangs it into the fence. Goal for the Pies. Elliott puts it through for his 4th. Essendon's lead cut to 32. 10 played final term. Brendan Goddard, Grandstand AFL.
Well, you mentioned it, Cause, when we talked about it leading into the game. It's difficult to kind of really get yourself up for this game and get the most out of it. But that's what an experienced good team would do, coming into finals, knowing they're playing finals. I know there's uncertainty coming into today whether they would be, but once they found out, like other teams that know they're playing finals, it's just a chance to keep instilling all their good habits and little things like that. I think would be frustrating Ben Runt and the coaches, just lack of concentration. They've been able, Collingwood, to open up Essendon today a number of times, getting the ball back through the corridor with really good ball use, really smart ball use, lowering the eyes there. They didn't have a long option, that a first initial one they had in the middle of the ground, so Elliott coming back up the ball and then there was an overlap that came, hence how Hoskin Elliott got out of the back, and then everyone just switched off, just thought that Hoskin Elliott would go back and have a kick. But that's a final. You want a guy going back and having a shot for goal and putting him under a little bit of pressure.
Brendan Goddard on ABC Sports. Sidebottom trying to break out of the middle. Tackle by Merritt. He wins a free kick for holding the ball. Hand pass around the back to Clark. Kicks inside 50. Onto the head of Wright. Worked underneath it by Jared Ruffhead. And in game 200, a good mark from Jordan Ruffhead, should I say, who goes short to Cameron. Out to Jamie Elliott, who marks it right half back. Elliott looks over the top to Sidebottom. He runs into space on the southern wing and then can work it further afield. And Taylor Adams takes the mark. Collingwood trailing by 32 points. Adams kicks towards Cameron on the lead. In front of Draper. Feeds the hand pass straight away to Dacos. To Ginnivan, hard against the boundary. Tries to square it back towards Thomas and Bianco, but Redmond back with the flight. Takes a pretty good mark in the end. 30 metres out from his defensive goal. The Bombers 14-5-89 to Collingwood 8-9-57.
He's going to get a 50-metre penalty here too, as Bianco told to get out of the way. So Redmond will be marched inside the centre square. Essendon on here on the counter-attack. Goes short to Clark. He's waiting for something to break upfield. He looks laterally and out wide to Shield, who takes the mark. So Dylan Shield pokes it back to centre-half forward. Dangerous kick. Bianco got a fist on it. Spills to Cameron. McGrath tackles him. Pass him through. Guelphy tried to knock it away, but Collingwood win it. Adams inside the centre square to Elliott, who's kicked 4 to Sidebottom to Madgen, all by hand now to Bianco. Well-weighted hand pass into the path of Sidebottom. He's pushed off at Cutler for the Bombers. Links up with Heppel off half-back.
Hand pass over the top to Durham, who runs through the middle of the G. Takes a bounce as he gets to centre wing. Can work a hand pass over the top to Clark. Let it bounce first. Hand pass trying to link up with Snelling. Never got to him. Chris Mayne takes it in his final game for Collingwood. Hand pass to Sidebottom, and now to Maynard. Kicks over the head of Ginnivan. Couldn't run onto it. Laverty gathers for the Bombers. A chance to clear at half-back. And finds Clark, who marks centre of the southern wing. Essendon leading by 32 points.
It'll be a long 10 minutes this beach. For everyone. Players included.
And commentators.
Yep. Clark long towards right. Couldn't take the mark, but did work it down to Perkins. Kicks out in front of Francis. Trying to get it away from Murphy. Trying to swat it back to Smith. Crisp gets there for Collingwood. Hand pass to Maynard. Feeds it back to Murphy in the right back pocket. Rolls the dice with a kick, which is over the head of Thomas into the middle of the ground. Racing after it, Merritt swatted it forward and then ricocheted off Thomas to regather on the wing. Hand pass to McGrath. Screws a kick back. Good vision. Spotted Heppel. Takes the mark just short of half forward.
Dons by 32 points. They'll play the Western Bulldogs most likely next Sunday in an elimination final. As Heppel kicks long to the top of the goal square. They come from all directions. Spills down to Durham. He whacks it away. Bianco had it, lost it, pushed in the back, or held without it. One or the other. A free kick's going Collingwood's way. And Trent Bianco will take it in the back pocket. Essendon have won the past 2 games against Collingwood. They're about to make it 3 if they can convert this into a win. It'll be the first time since 2004-2005 seasons the Bombers have won that many games against Collingwood. So the Pies have had it over Essendon really for the last 2 decades. As the Pies come out of the defensive 50, Sidebottom by hand to Crisp, inside the middle of the ground, finds Adams. He kicks laterally and Cameron takes the mark. It's just give a hand pass to the man running through. This time it's Braden Maynard who loads up, drives his kick goalward. Well, it's kept alive. Still in top of the goal square. Hoskin Elliott shakes a tackle, snaps over his shoulder and kicks it. Looked to be going through for a certain behind. The Pies pull it back and Hoskin Elliott makes it a goal. 14 and a half played final term. Collingwood to 9-9-63. Essendon 14-5-89. The Bombers lead now just 26 points. Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, well, it's tough to watch, but it's just concerning. It just creates more uncertainty the way that Essendon are dealing with this and trying to finish off this game going into next week.
Well, it's hard to know how much grace to give them, Beach. Okay,
correct.
So they put the cue in the rack, and Collingwood have just marched the ball twice from defensive 50 to an easy shot 5 metres out from goal. What are we with? Yeah, 4.5 goals up. So it seems like, for all intents and purposes, it seems like the result's out of question. Although, if they're not careful, if the Pies can find a way to do that 2 more times in the next couple of minutes, then they'll have to snap back into gear. But Yeah,
well,
it would be frustrating.
Needed, so there's still a chance. The Lee Matthews rule.
The Pies have kicked consecutive goals as Peter Wright with a chance to go forward. Short to Snelling, not 15. Inside the 50, loses it, and Noble comes up with it for Collingwood. Hand pass to Cameron, back to the dash of Noble. Straight through the middle to Thomas. Collingwood playing with a bit more flair now. No need to not throw it all in against the breeze. Hand pass to Maynard. Got it to Grundy. Kicks into the pocket. Ginnivan on the lead. Marks on his chest.
This is just extraordinary. It's seriously just a little concerning for mine. So put the cue in the rack. You just flirt with form. Certain teams can do that, right? More experienced teams can, but they'll slow the ball down. They're able to defend. They're able to slow the opposition down. Now they can't, and you're just creating more uncertainty. Again, flirting with form and confidence going into next week. It's not the way you want to finish off a game and finish off the year.
Jack Ginnivan's had 3 shots on goal. This one's across the face. Right, dropped the mark. In the end, they almost made a meal of it, the Bombers, but Laverde clears with a hand pass to McGrath. Kicks towards Francis. Roughhead punches it inside the 50. Bouncing ball for Parrish, who gathers. Hand pass to Redmond for the Dons. In 2 minds on defensive 50. Backwards, he retreats by 15 to Cutler. He's going to switch it all the way back to Hine. Mitch Cleary on the boundary.
Sam Durham just taken down to the rooms with it looks like a right hamstring complaint. Medical sub Nick Cox just warming up.
Gee, that's not good news. He's been one of the feel-good stories of the year, Sam Durham. He picked up in the mid-season draft, and now he's in Essendon's best 22 with a game to go before finals. So fingers crossed that's more of a precaution than anything for Durham as the short kick finds Hine, still on the back flank, the Bombers. A long kick down the line, and Perkins, the teenager, up marking strongly. The first year, straight out of the draft, first year Bomber, first year in the big time. Kicks in the middle of the ground for Heppel. Looks inside 50. Again, Smith all alone inside the attacking arc. Stringer in the goal square takes the mark. And a bruised free ending to all of this. Jake Stringer will have a set shot here, just right of centre outside the goal square.
That's the first time. It wasn't overused, but they managed to get it back through the corridor and then get it to this open side where they had numerous options. So slick ball movement from that far wing. Again, textbook kind of training, the ideal ball movement that you train a lot of training to get it back through the corridor, which opens up the whole game.
So the Premiership Bulldog with a date against his old mob next week. Jake Stringer bangs through another goal for Essendon. A subtle high five, Essendon up to 15 for the day. 15-5-95, Collingwood 9-9-63. 18 played final term. Dons by 32. So this final quarter for you both, you sort of sound a little more worried than Bally, but if sort of on a scale of 1 to 10, if 1's not a big deal and 10's a big deal, where are you in terms of your worry for Essendon in this final quarter?
Well, it's just not just kind of this game, is it? In this quarter, they've been vulnerable to this throughout the year, and that's where I said it's just the old habits die hard kind of mentality, especially coming to finals, because you can't really hide anywhere, and good teams expose your weaknesses. So Essendon have been vulnerable to this, and patches throughout the year where teams have got a hold of them, particularly in the back half where their profile has been more, really exciting team, built off the back of offence rather than defence. So that's where it's more, you probably just can't say it's a one-off, and it's a little bit concerning coming in next week because of just this game or this quarter.
Draper wins down the tap, but Adams gets the clearance, kicks to half forward, gathered by Stewart, works it back to Laverde, who kicks out of defence to Redmond, who marks it right half back. Brad's been in touch from West Footscray, wondering what the Dogs have to do to beat the Bombers next week. We'll get the thoughts of Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard shortly. It's the kick towards half forward. Francis trying to palm it down. Crisp runs onto it. Tackle by Perkins.
Great tackle.
Couldn't break the tackle.
Keep going, Nick.
Hine wanted to take the advantage, then realised he had the green light from the umpire. Kicks to Stringer on the lead. He marks directly in front, 45 metres out.
Well, that's the sort of stuff that they'd want to see. That intensity, that chase and tackle, and
youngest player on the ground.
Well, I think that's the thing, Beej. I think part of the disappointment that you're probably, it's the senior players, and look, maybe you give them the benefit of the doubt. They've probably been the ones that have been a little bit flippant with the ball and a bit cute at times and not defended as well as they have. Whereas I reckon there's 3 or 4 guys out there that are playing like they want to play next week. And Archie Perkins is one of those. Alec Waterman's another one of those. Matt Guelphy. There are some guys out there that know that they don't have that luxury. they have to play on the edge at all times.
Stringer with a couple next to his name. Can't add a third to that as he misses to the right-hand side. The margin is 33 points Essendon's way.
So the Pies work it up. Northern boundary line. Bianco onto it right on halfway. Shares it with Grundy on the 1-2. Bianco kicks down to half forward. Hind arriving from the back. Thumps it out of play. The boundary thrown between wing and half forward for Collingwood. Mitch Cleary.
So Sam Durham's back up from the rooms, getting that right hamstring looked at. Mason Redmond just got collected in that last marking contest. A little bit proppy. He's already had the left quad strapped. Looks like he will continue though.
Of course, it's been well publicised. Essendon's last finals victory back in 2004. They played final series in 2019, 17, 14, 11, 09, and then 04 before that, their last win about 6 finals ago. As Essendon from the stoppage, Merritt kicks down to Waterman, who takes it between wing and half forward. Nice strong mark.
5 elimination finals losses they'll be keen to put behind them if they can beat the Bulldogs next week. Kick inboard from Waterman to Dev Smith, who pushes right behind his mark like he's having a shot on goal, and then tried to kick to Stringer on the lead. Murphy dropped the mark. Collingwood have enough time to regather it through Maynard. Hand pass to Crisp, to Murphy, to Rantoul down low, gets it to Wilson. Almost run down he is. Great tackle and chase by Mason Redmond, who's had a couple of good moments with his defensive intent. He's going to have another crack at a goal here. Kicked one early in the match.
He's kicked one from this distance before too this year. Maybe a couple that I can remember. So he's another one who plays at that level the whole time. I think he's had another terrific year. I think, Corb, interested in your view. Watch him closely. I'd have him in the top 7 or 8 in the best and fairest.
Come to Corby in a moment as Redmond veers out to the right, trying to get enough purchase on it. And it's done the job. Arms outstretched as it sails straight over the goal umpire's hat. He knew exactly what he was doing, just had to get the maximum power onto it to kick his second. And it's all celebrations for the Bombers at centre half forward. The margin is 39 points, 16-6, 102 to the Pies, 9-9, 63. Where do you have Mason Redmond in your best and fairest tally, Corby?
I'm happy to be with Bawley on that. I mean, his position was one of a number. I mean, Nick Hind coming in as well, that was sort of up for grabs at the start of the year, and he looks like a lock in their best 22 at the moment.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it. He's, I think he's a 200-game player, Beach.
Yep.
He's tall, he's athletic, he's a elite runner, got speed and a beautiful kick. I think he's a huge asset for the Bombers.
And you know, he's a good guy, but he's a good teammate because you run out each week, as you're alluding to, and you know what you're going to get from him. And he's been like that since the day he arrived at the club. You could see his intensity and his attempt just and want to get better, and his ability to approach training as if it's I know it's kind of throwaway line, but do or die. He's that intense when he does train all the time.
Up to 59 games now, Mason Redmond, 2-year deal during the year, so he'll be sticking around as Draper gets a free for a ruck infringement. Goes out to half forward. Parrish tried to feed the hand pass to Merritt, fell clean over. Picked up by Adams off half-back for Collingwood. Finds Josh Thomas, takes the mark logo southern wing, links up with Ginnivan, who marks, keeps running downhill goalward from the 50, pulls his kick to Darcy Cameron, one-on-one. Laverty does very well. What a year he's had. Gets a spoil in on Cameron, who soccers for the safety of the boundary line. Then he's been pinged for deliberate. Laverty will take the free back flank for the Bombers. Essendon by 39 with just over 2 minutes to play.
He has had a great year, hasn't he, Jaden Laverty? It's been one of the success stories. I don't think he ever would have played across half-back in his life, Beach. Drafted as a forward, and I think he played every game, I think.
He has.
Yeah, what a terrific effort. And hopefully, we don't want to forecast it too much, but hopefully he gets through today's incident. Yeah, that'd be a travesty if that came about. But anyway, we'll wait and see.
For those that weren't with us, contact to Ollie Henry, which will no doubt get looked at by the match review officer. Parrish kicks to half forward, intercepted by Wilson of Collingwood. Hand pass to Roughhead, who wasn't really expecting it in his 200th game. Squeezed the kick wide of Main. His final foray for Collingwood. Hand pass to Rantoul to go. He broke the tackle of Dev Smith. Feeds the hand pass wide to Murphy on the members' wing. He looks up towards half forward with a kick towards Cameron. Tried to work Laverde to the front, and then around the back for a free kick for a hold against Cameron. Jaden Laverty's had him cold this afternoon. He'll take the free kick at right half back.
You mentioned those 5 elimination final defeats for Essendon. 3 of them have come interstate against teams on their own park. They'll be interstate again, Essendon, but on neutral turf against the Bulldogs. So losses to West Coast and Sydney and Adelaide in that run. And 2 back here at the MCG against North and Carlton. Many people will be aware of course, that Twitter account, which unfortunately is keeping track of the days since Essendon's last finals victory, up to 6,196. They get a chance to try and break that streak next week against the Bulldogs, a side they beat just a fortnight ago. And Collingwood win possession back on the southern wing as Howe goes short. Now to Jay Rantoul, number 1, who has the footy for Collingwood. He looks inside 50. In fact, he's just outside of it. 60 from home. Side bottom takes the mark.
He looks for Elliott, who comes on a lead into the pocket, hits him on the chest. Lace out from Steele side bottom. And Jamie Elliott showing intent leading out of the goal square. When those two combine, normally something good happens for Collingwood. Hard against the boundary in the right forward pocket. He'll step out and look to snap on his left. He's led the way for Collingwood this afternoon with 4 goals. Elliott does just that. It's a good kick. It's touched off the boot. As he started to open up the angle, it was good defensive work from the Bombers. And the margin is 38 points, Essendon's way in the dying stages.
So Jordan Ridley with the kick on the bell, and the Bombers are going back to the final series. A chance to end a 6,000-plus day streak without a finals win. A date with the Bulldogs awaits next week.
Always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, up. The other teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly up.
For Collingwood, that's all she wrote in season 2021. 6-16, their final record. They won just 1 of their first 7 games. In the end, they win just 1 of their last 6. In between, they picked off a few victories. They sacked their coach and favourite son, Nathan Buckley. But season 2021 comes to a close for the Magpies. For Essendon, they led by 6 at quarter time, 34 at the half, 33 at three-quarter time and 38 in the finish. They end the season in outright 8th spot at 11-11.
Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up, up. The other teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly on.
The goal kickers, Peter Wright, kick 4, Alec Waterman, kick 4, 2 for Stringer, Redman and Smith, 1 for Archie Perkins and Will Snelling. Meanwhile, for Collingwood, Jamie Elliott kicked 4, 1 for De Goey, Dacos, Cameron Thomas and Hoskin Elliott. So Essendon finished the season on a 3-game winning sequence, a 38-point victory over Collingwood today. And a finals appearance next week. Having missed out in 2020, they're back in the big time. The Bombers looking to win their first final since 2004 next week against the Bulldogs.
So it started with St Kilda upstaging Fremantle, meaning the Bombers didn't have to win to guarantee them September, but they are there after a 2-6 start. They win their last 3, prevailing by 38 points over Collingwood. The thoughts of Luke Ball and Brendan Goddard on ABC Sport.
Well, it was the last probably 5 to 8 minutes was a little bit more positive because it was getting quite messy there and a little bit concerning for mine that, old habits are creeping back into the game or still there. That's Essendon I'm talking about. So a good little 5 or 8 minute patch there just to end, just to tighten up the screws a little bit heading into next week. But the game was set up early at half time, wasn't it, Luke? The game was over. They did a lot of hard work. Essendon offensively looked really strong at times. Collingwood opened them up, which I highlight in that last quarter that they marched the ball from end and end twice, I think 2 times in a row or twice in the space of probably 2 or 3 minutes there once Collingwood, but it happened throughout the day where they were able just to expose the lack of team defence from Essendon, which has again been a bit of an issue, which for mine, which is a little bit concerning coming into to next week, and against a team that's really good offensively, that generally has great foot skills and makes really good decisions with the ball. But great performance set up by Dev Smith, I think, in the first half. His influence on the game was huge. He's the most influential player on the ground, particularly in the first half, and when they did set up the game for the win, I think he's been the most influential player on the ground throughout the whole day, albeit his second half was a little bit quieter, and 2 metre Peter having an influence on the scoreboard, managed to find some separation off Roughhead, as you said, has been a really good servant for Collingwood for a while now and been really reliable, so managed to find some separation, take some confidence in the next week, but just a little bit of overuse throughout the day for Essendon, just a little bit too cute with the ball. Players, Collingwood aren't really strong defensively, and their pressure around the ball isn't elite. So a lot of times you get put in a false sense of security, thinking there's always just that extra option, because generally there kind of is, because the pressure isn't elite. So when guys have time and space, and this is probably leading to next week too, finals, it's especially elimination finals, that it's a little bit more up, as we see here. Chris Mayne
and Jordan Roughhead are both going to be cheered off the
well.
MCG. So Jordan Rough in his 200th match, with the Essendon players on the left-hand side and the Collingwood players on the right, is cheered off. And Chris Mayne in his 248th match and final game in AFL footy. And embraced by the two as they're carried by Scott Pendlebury in the tracksuit alongside Taylor Adams, Jack Madgen and Jeremy Howe also providing the support. So Chris Mayne, who spent 9 years at Freo before coming across to Collingwood, 5 years in the black and white, and finishes with 248 matches at AFL level. So the Pies make their way off the MCG. For the Bombers, it's the Western Bulldogs that loom next week in an elimination final. Sorry, BJ?
Yeah, so it's just throughout the day it was a bit of a trend where Essendon just overused the ball a little bit, and I was saying just about they always feel like there's an extra player there, but when a player has time and space and make a decision, it's important to take the ball forward, because that'll hold them in good stead for next week against a better opposition. So although they walk away with a win, and it was mentally just tough to get themselves through today, which uncertainty when they woke up this morning of whether they'll be playing finals, and the thought process would have been just about controlling the controllables, and we've just got to win to cement our spot in the finals, because their percentage was much higher, remember, than Fremantle's. And then to see that result literally, probably 10 minutes before they were about to run out to the ground, I'm assuming they probably would have seen it somewhere, or the word would have filtered through that they were playing finals regardless. It would have been tough just to jump over that little mental hurdle that they probably had. Bally?
Yeah, whilst it was frustrating to watch, if you had said to Ben Rutten, maybe before the start of the game, how do you want this afternoon to play out? Let's do our work early, set up a nice lead, breathing space at half-time where we can perhaps just manage the way we play or manage our players in the second half, knowing that certainly within 7 days, and maybe even sooner, they might have to play in 6 days' time, we'll have to front up again for a final. So, yes, frustrating to watch, and yes, at times... And the question mark is with a team who we haven't seen do it, in finals. You say, should they be doing? Should they be flirting with their form? Should they be putting the foot on the throat and springboarding into next week? That's the question that Ben Rutten will probably get asked in his press conference, no doubt. But if you had said, you're 6 goals up at half time, then we can just manage the game from then on, he probably would have taken that given the circumstances. So. It's a great. Stepping back, it's a fantastic. Corb, you're Bombers man. No one had them finishing eighth. No one had them playing finals this year. When it was all doom and gloom at the end of last year. Some big names walked out. They had to bring some kids in. New coach comes in. So I think it's been a wonderful year for them, and it's great. A bit of the commentary up until this week's been around. They're probably not ready. They're a bit young. I think any chance you get to play a final is absolutely fantastic, and you take it with both hands, especially with a young developing group. But they've got a good mix. They've got some guys that have played finals, so they've got enough experience. We'll see pound for pound next week how they stack up. My guess would, even though the Bulldogs have obviously been there, 5 years ago now, so that's a while ago now. They've got some youth as well, and they've got some guys who are coming in questionable form. So they should go in with confidence. They should go in knowing that they've earned this spot. They've got a percentage of well over 100, so they've very much earned their spot in the finals, and they've beaten this team. They beat the team that they're playing only a month ago, so there's no reason why they shouldn't go in with confidence.
Yeah, I think the other good thing is too that out of the teams, you want the side to make it that is the trajectory's on the up, and they've had to win their last 3 games to get there. You compare that to St Kilda won 2 of their last 6. The Western Bulldogs have lost their last 4. Obviously, they're going to make it anyway. Fremantle have won 1 of their last 3. Richmond lost
West Coast,
their last 4. Richmond have had 2 wins after the bye, so at least in that sense, it's the Bombers are one of the form teams, obviously hitting the finals.
Yeah. And along with GWS and themselves, they've grabbed the opportunity where you just reeled off 4 or 5 teams where just they stumbled. They dropped the ball, they had their chance, and GWS and Essendon managed to get the job done. So it was good that they kind of, like you said, that they did it in the right manner. So they'll take some confidence out of that. So yeah, I don't believe in that argument around it's probably better off they don't make finals, because totally agree with Balling being a player that any finals experience, particularly for a young team, is only going to be beneficial. So yeah, they might come out next week and might lose by 8 goals, but they're getting experience and playing even better. So they're playing the Bulldogs, who they played 2 weeks ago and had the better of that. Whatever happens, they're going to be better off for it, because they're creating an environment and a culture where, regardless of what happens, they're going to learn from it. So, for me, they may not have an impact, and they're probably not ready as such to go deep into finals, but they're definitely in a position that put themselves in a position where they can win a final and they can beat Bulldogs, and they've got a bit of confidence. Albeit today they probably just fumbled a little bit, but they deserve their spot and should go in next week really confident.
Clinchy, you've got the official finals draw with the venues, which has just come out. What can you tell us?
So I've just seen on Channel 7 the second qualifying final to kick things off on Friday night, Port Adelaide and Geelong from the Adelaide Oval. 2 matches to take place from Tasmania, the first of which will be the second elimination final, Sydney and GWS, a 3:20 start Saturday afternoon.
Where's that one?
UTAS.
It's York Park.
York Park.
Lonnie.
The Saturday night game, the first qualifying final between Melbourne and Brisbane, the Adelaide Oval, 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Sunday, elimination final, the Western Bulldogs and Essendon, also to take place from York Park. Cool. A 3:20 start Sunday afternoon.
That's massive for Tassie.
Huge.
So 2 games finals at York Park.
What do they get there? 20. I think the Hawthorn, the Bombers game that they had would have given the AFL confidence that they can get that joint rocking. What can they get there? 20?
They had 15 that day, but I don't know if that was capped or not. So York Park is probably going to lend itself to a better spectacle and a better game of footy than Bellerive. Bellerive, you're right on the elements. You got the
we played footy there longer, haven't we? I think they deserve it. I mean, we Peach 20 years ago, we were going down there and playing. To be honest, didn't love going down there and playing. Used to like
20
being under the roof.
Close
enough. Being under the roof at Marvel, but no, that's great. Yeah, that'll be great.
So 2 elimination finals in Tassie, and then the 2 qualies in Adelaide.
Yep. So clearly the ability to fly in and fly out. Adelaide will have the restrictions of flying in early, and then I guess for the Friday night, whether they'll be trying to get out that night or given permission to stay overnight. But no final to take place in Queensland, which was one of the...
Well, I'd say probably having the staff too, being able to park themselves only at 2 locations for the weekend. You've got to think about that, from an AFL point of view as well. That might come into it, so they can do...
Is this
2 games in a row.
Is this goodwill, or is it a political move from the AFL to say, hey, your team's a little bit off in the distance, it's still a mirage at this stage, but here's a couple of finals to keep you happy in the short term?
Well, it's an opportunity for them to vote with their feet again, isn't it? I think, for Tassie people, supporters, doesn't matter who's playing, to come out and watch a game of finals footy. Hey, Corb, we're just watching Nick Cox sprint up and down on the wing there. He's such a... talented youngster, isn't he? And had such a good start to the year. Interesting that Archie Perkins has held his spot, whereas Cox goes out. Is he the perfect sub for next week? Is he that? What do you do with him? Do you think? If there's no injuries out of today,
you guys are the experts. But
BJ, sorry, BJ. Questions to you.
Essendon, we're all arguably Essendon people here, Luke. Well, he might get an opportunity now with. Who was it that came off Durham? Yeah, potentially. If Mitch has got any updates on that, but. What they've got to think about too is he's refreshed too. He's had a couple of weeks off. He hasn't obviously played today, so he's going to come in being a younger guy too, I think he got in a position where he was struggling to get through the year because clearly his performances early in the year were outstanding, and it just slowly headed south. Probably since around 10 or 11, mid part of way through the year, that his performances and even just his effort intensity that can get the better. I remember these young guys too, Luke, that for us it was hard, but it's harder for them now, even though they're better prepared, but just mentally too, because of the curveballs that have been thrown in terms of being away from home, the extra travel that they've had to do. So for these younger guys to get through the year has been probably tougher for them than otherwise, when we were playing and coming through the ranks. So I think, but if there's an injury there, he'll come straight in, won't he? So, but you got to think about he's refreshed, he's physically, mentally probably ready to go next week too. And like we're talking about, the experience of playing finals, a guy in his first year of footy, he started so well, but just to get a taste of it and understand it, and that'll springboard his pre-season and give him something to really look forward to.
His numbers have been a bit down since he was the Rising Star nominee back in round 12, but Nick Cox is there if the Bombers choose to go with him. Essendon winners by 38 points at the MCG. Here they are singing the song. So Essendon winners 16-6, 102 to Collingwood 9-10-64. Half-time at Adelaide, it's a 24-point lead to the Crows over North Melbourne. 5-9-39 to North 2-3-15 with Cam Zurhaar just going through a bit of a fitness test at half-time as to whether he'll be able to continue on. So we're going to take you there for the second half. Bally, just a thought or two on Collingwood this afternoon, because there'll be questions about the future, and where do you feel like their most immediate needs are for Collingwood from a talent acquisition point of view?
Well, I mean, broadly speaking, it's a conclusion of a disastrous year, really, in a sense. I mean, I think everyone thought that given what happened in terms of players going out over the off season, that there would be a bit of a drop off, but it's been a bit of a cliff, really, hasn't it? So disappointing year. I suppose the only saving grace is there hasn't been too many people to watch at the games over the last part of the year. But I think there's some the opportunity that are presented for some young players to get a taste, and for the coaching staff and the people of the club to get a look at who shows that they've got the ability to play the right way going forward. I think young Henry's certainly in that category. He certainly showed a bit throughout the year. I mentioned Trent Bianco. I think he's given coming off a limited preparation, he looks like a player who can really play and will benefit from a full pre-season. Murphy, another one. Ginnivan showed that he's got some good goal sense. So they had to play these young players. Dacos got another year behind him as well. So there was that side of it. I thought. And then at the other end of the spectrum, I thought Adams just battled on, manfully. And I thought DeGoey showed that he can be a regular AFL mid, with another full pre-season. And if he trains there over the off season and pre-season, he can be one of the better mids in the competition. So there were some positives coming at it from that point of view, but it was obviously a really, really disappointing year.
Very quick on Bally. Is next year rebuild down the bottom, or is it spike back towards the 8 quickly?
No, I don't think it's too bad. I don't think it takes that long for them to get back. There were some other kids, McInnes and a few others that didn't play either this year who can Darcy Moore hasn't played for the whole second half of the year. So I don't think it's I don't think it's to the bottom. I think they can get up pretty quick. I hope.
We need the votes for the ABC Footballer of the
BJ.
Year.
I've got them, do I?
Quick hands.
Yeah, quick hands. One vote goes to Nick Hind, who I thought he's had an outstanding... Is he conversation for All-Australian?
Well, I was going to ask you at half-time. Who are the All-Australian halfbacks? Probably Daniel Rich, I think.
That's what I was thinking.
One. And then there's, probably Lever and May and Salem, maybe. But he's, in terms of pure halfbacks, and I don't think... Again, I don't have the stats in front of me. He hasn't had many goals kicked on him this year, Hind.
He's played with some good players
too. And then his ability to impact the game offensively. I think he almost should be in the 40. Tom Stewart
would have to be there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, said Salem. Yeah, I think Stewart from Geelong. I mean, you're probably looking at the guys in the top end of the ladder, but gee whiz, he's been good.
Probably pushed out by the top
Salem, Stewart, and then it's
Rich.
Sorry, is the other one.
Rich. So,
but he's been good.
Yeah. So, and you were talking about his performance and where he's come from, but it's not only just his. I think he deserves to be in that conversation in those top 5 or 6 halfbacks in the competition. So, 2 votes goes to Jake Stringer, who we saw his influence around the ball. We know his influence, around the ball, but impact of the scoreboard, 9 score involvements, 6 clearances, kicked 2 goals, but he continues to really blossom. He's another one that Jordan Agoe fit, and I've talked about this before publicly, and he knows this as well, just if he's able just to push himself physically, and literally it's as simple as get yourself in the best shape of your life.
Which he has this year, hasn't he? I mean, it's clear. He looks... How many goals do you end up with?
Yes and no. I just think... I question that, whether just physically he's got the best... Because his attitude. He's a pretty relaxed kind of guy. Nothing really bothers him.
They reckon he lost 7 kilos.
Yeah, he had a lot to lose.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm probably talking about in the last 3 years, this is the best he's been. There's no doubt about it.
But there's probably 2 or 3 levels to this where he could get to. So... got all the attributes, along with Jordan Agoe, same conversation, get yourself in the best shape, spend more time on the ball because you impact around the ball, and then the flow and effect of that and the impact on the scoreboard the team has because of your influence around the ball and around stoppages is literally second to none. You're talking about Dustin Martin-like stuff. So, and the best man on the ground, as we talked about, albeit his second half was a little bit quiet.
Well, I think we're giving the votes on the first 2.5 quarters.
Yeah, well, the game was set up. There was a bit of a fizzle for the second half, but Dev Smith was the most influential man, particularly when it mattered. So, again, I don't generally realise stats, but 10 score involvements, and I think 6 of those came in the first half. So, outstanding effort playing in, I call it the graveyard role, that half-forward role that you can get stuck in and get caught in this endless loop. That done an outstanding job tonight playing that role.
3 to Smith, 2 to Stringer, 1 to Hine, and Essendon's 38-point win over Collingwood. We're going to record a little finals preview, which you'll hear after Adelaide and North Melbourne. So BJ and Bully's thoughts on the finals to come. Meanwhile, at the Adelaide Oval, early stages of the third quarter, it's a 25-point lead the way of the Adelaide Crows. So 5-10-40 to North Melbourne at 2-3-15. So we're going to cross to our commentary team of Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross alongside Rod Jamieson and Scott Camporelli, Jack Beretta down on the boundary. If you didn't hear the finals news, Friday night to take place at the Adelaide Oval. 2 matches to take place in Tassie on Saturday and Sunday, the elimination finals, and Saturday night, of course, to take place in Adelaide as well. So from the MCG, we bid you farewell.